Hi, 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 hi. Can anybody hear me? Can I get a sound check? Hello, hello, anyone? Let's do a sound check. Hey, hey. Let me do the technical stuff first. I don't know if anyone can hear me. Wait 1 second. Let's skip a slide. There we go. G'day, boys. G'day, boys. How's it going? Can anybody hear me? Let me check the sound in the chat real quick. Kuba, my man, welcome back. How you been? Sound is good. Yes, we hear you. 5x5. I like being in the pipe. 5x5. Hey, nice guys. So sound is working. I'm going to send it straight away. I'd normally hang around a little bit, give it 1 or 2 minutes, let the chat, well, populate, because I just put that post out in the, what do you call it, notifications post thing. But whatever. There's, what do we got? 26 viewers. Yeah, happy with that. Let's send it. That's a good bloody number. 26 people. Nice. I'm going to send it, boys. I'm going to get straight into it here. If you're new to one of the CSR streams, a recent subscriber from one of the, well, 2 videos I put out in the last 2 weeks, welcome. Hello. Thanks for joining in. If you're one of the regulars and the members, welcome back. Always a pleasure, my chaps. First of all, with that being said, let's discuss what this is about. What are you going to be getting? First of all, let me put you out of your fucking misery early. You're going to be sitting through a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not going to lie about that. But if you've watched some of the other live VODs, as in when I do these things, they turn into the video later on anyway. Probably not a surprise to you, yeah. But if you're expecting bloody, I don't know, barn dance, brass band, and fireworks display, you're going to be disappointed. So best check out now. With that being said, what I do in these live streams, it comes a week after the video has released, typically. And I go through, as you can see on screen here, some of the comments. I'll dabble into some of the behind the scenes stuff, so the back end of what's going on with, as in how I edit and how the technical side of things come together. For those who are interested in such things, do a bit of Q&A, both from the comments on the video and then here in the live chat as well. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with what's coming next, what's the next project, what's in the pipeline. And today I'm going to be leveraging you dudes, the live chat, because I'll confess here at the start of the video, I don't have a locked in plan yet for what is coming next. So once we get to the end, that's something we can yap about. Happy to take ideas, happy to take suggestions on some of the skeleton ideas I already have. But yeah, I'm going to be bouncing off you dudes today. Another thing to note, I lock into the PowerPoint because I don't know how they do it, the streamers. Like read the chat and do whatever it is they're doing on stream at the same time. Like my mind gets frazzled. So I'll lock into the chat, I'll read a slide, yap, brief the PowerPoints or whatever, and then I'll go to the chat, see what's going on, read a few comments, catch up, that sort of thing. So I'm not like ignoring it outright. It's just that I do like a few slides in a chunk, then I'll go back in the chat, catch up, see what everyone's talking about, any trends or questions and that sort of thing. All right. So don't fret if it feels like I'm ignoring you. I'll get around to the chat eventually, but just otherwise it'll be more fragmented than it already is, and it'll take 10 hours instead of the 2 hours this will probably take. So make sure you go for a little potty break if you haven't already, because you're going to be stuck in that fucking chair for a while. Or wherever you're watching this from, my Americano comrades, it's like midday for you chaps, depending where you are in the country, I guess. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to send it, and let's get into it. The next thing, boys, or the secondary intro, there's a few different types of streams I do. Again, this is aimed at the newcomers. So I've got my type 1, type 2. These are the members only ones. Join up if you want a bit of behind the scenes stuff. To the members who do join up to watch that, thank you very much. And then the all access stuff, which is anyone can watch, which I'll do these ones, the debriefs. And then I've got another newish series that I've started doing, which is mixed bag. And there's no schedule for mixed bag. That will normally go down on a Sunday, however, in place of a planning room or a debrief. And that's something like, as you can see on the screen there, I did a tier list of, in that case, Latin America action films. That was after the Americanos captured Maduro, so it was fitting for the time frame there. But yeah, these are the 4 different types of live streams I have going on at the moment. So if anything you see on screen looks like it might blow your skirt up, go ahead and check them out. Check out the videos in the past. You can watch them too. It's bloody sick. Or yeah, become a member and get some of these other ones if you want. If you don't want, that's cool too. No bloody hair off my chest, hair off my chin. So this is what happens. I'm trying to read the chat now and speak at the same time, and I just can't do it. Morning here, 10 a.m. where I am, 12:05 noon, Maine, noon, EDT. Ryan, welcome back, mate. Cuba, Poland. Yeah, the Euros is a pretty good time slot for the Euros. My one mad lad from Brisbane, 2 a.m. Thank you for jumping on. I wasn't expecting too many Aussies on this. I know you got gypped for this time slot, but thank you for the few Aussies, probably might be a couple of Kiwis, who are on for this very awkward time zone for you guys. Okay, moving on, boys. I'm going to yap for a bit here, lengthy like at the start, right? Because before I get into some of these comments and some of the themes and some of the criticisms and critiques, I want to try and explain, and I've done this before. If you've watched some of these other lives, you'll probably be familiar with what I'm about to talk about. I suppose I want to explain what is going through my head when I'm putting these videos together. Some of the, maybe not goals, but things that I'm considering. So I did this little Venn diagram. I'm poking the screen. I don't know why you can't see that. But I've got my little 3 things here that I'm thinking about, right? This is like my little trinity of gravity, stuff that I'm trying to think about when I'm making these videos. So firstly, I want to be true to the source material. What that translates to in simple terms is I want to keep the battle as it was shown to us on the screen, in the movie or the game, as close to how it was portrayed in the movie, in the game. I can't put that any simpler. Next up, I want to make the battle, by that I mean the simulation, so the final part, right, of my video, my project, I want to make that fun. I want to make that engaging. And the last part is the first part of the video, is what that's speaking about, develop a workable plan. I want to make sure that I'm actually applying the stuff that I say I'm doing in a coherent fashion and in an effective manner, right? So if I'm yapping about center of gravity and all this military planning and MDMP and all this stuff, and then I'm absolutely botching it, not too crash hot, right? So in more simple terms, rather, how this translates to, again, next slide, Venn diagram with some more text. Look. This is also what like subheadings of this is. So in respecting the fans, or being true to the source material, I think it's like courteous to the intellectual property and the fans of that IP. The engaging battle, that's making the last part of my video fun. That's important for it, because if it's, well, boring, then no one's going to watch it. Real talk. And the last part is developing a workable plan. This is like the educational part of, I would hope, what I'm doing here with the whole CSRC thing, which was, again, for those of you who've been around long enough, it was always started as like a pro dev thing. And I've said this before, and I try and stick to it. I kind of pretend, role play, LARP, make believe that when I'm doing this stuff, I'm still in the military giving like a military lesson in the way I would have when I used to do that, right? And that's sort of the takeaways there, is that I'm hoping that there's junior soldiers or there's diggers somewhere all around the world, not just Australians, obviously, or people who are just enthusiasts of strategy or what have you, who are maybe learning a thing or two from these videos. That is always one of the underlying goals, no matter how silly they may seem, how many memes I flash in your face, how many Vine boom.mp3 sound effects you come across in the videos. That's always kind of one of the undercurrents, is I want, ideally, a soldier somewhere to be learning something, right? And I'll caveat that with, like, this is aimed at like that level. This is aimed at like the junior soldier, junior leader, junior NCO level. I doubt there's any staff officers or intelligence types who would be blown away by anything I'm doing. This is like a foundational approach to the basic stuff that you would learn in the military, right? At the level I was at, which was a senior NCO. So that's what I'm going for here. If that's making sense so far, stick with me. Stick with me. I'll get to yours. If I do all those things correctly, inshallah, I've done a good video, right? And then comes the practical problem here, is I'm trying to make a successful YouTube, not just video, but channel. And yeah, I'm not shy about my ambitions that I would love to one day be able to do nothing but be a YouTube man guy. At the moment, I'm not. I'm a family man with a day job, tragically. So this YouTube is a side hustle. But yeah, ultimately, all these things working together should create a good video. The top one there, I'll yap about a little bit more, because despite what some commenters might think, I'm not trying to like antagonize. I'll give some examples: Star Wars fans or Fallout fans or whatever else I've done, Lord of the Rings fans, right? If anything, I'd hope that I'm portraying that I'm giving these elements or these militaries or these organizations like due respect in treating them as a formidable and capable enemy when I'm doing these plans. So another thing I'll just add there for detail, and I've made this point before, but I'll just throw it out again now for any of the new subscribers. Like, I'm not trying to intentionally wind anyone up and like, I'm going to smash the NCR because fuck those NCR fan cunts. Nah, it's not like what I'm thinking when I'm making these videos. It's just obviously in that case, the Fallout one, because that's the example that my mind has come across. That is the most iconic battle, arguably, from probably the Fallout franchise, right? The Battle of Hoover Dam. Next slide. Now, if I get that right and I get a good video going, sometimes things are going to fall off, right? And there's a balance at play here. These are like opposing forces. I'm punching my fists together, but you can't see me, so I don't know why I'm doing that. So these things don't always work together in unison. Sometimes these clash. And I'll give an example here. I've picked out a couple of comments here that I'm picking on. We've got Lord Baphomet. Fuck me dead. Isn't that shaitan thing that like Epstein and all them worship? I've got to start reading these fucking these profile names before I crop the picture. Anyway, I feel like most of the Persian army would run away after they witnessed their fellow countrymen suddenly dying from seemingly magic and instantly believing that the gods are punishing them. Snapper TV similarly says, you start shooting and when they see the army, and when the army sees that your bullets go straight through their shields and make a loud, scary noise, they're going to panic and flee. Easy peasy win. Both these comments here, guys, I don't disagree with. They are very, very plausible courses of action, or it's probably what would happen, right? But again, go back to my little Venn diagram. If this is what happens, then I don't have a video in short terms, and nor is it a fun simulation. So it's one of these things. What are we doing here? So this is like the things that I'm thinking about to try and balance when I'm putting these together as a project. And in this case, for this video that we just did, as you can see on the screen here, to make the fun part happen, and this was a bit zany. If you've seen some of the other videos, this was probably the craziest battle sim I've done out of all of them. I think that's a pretty fair statement. Yeah, if you have watched my other ones, I'd imagine you're hoping you're bloody nodding along at home. But in this case, to make this a fun video at the end, the simulation, this is what it took. I had to nerf the Greek artillery / supporting assets, nerf not being able to kill Xerxes in whatever fashion the Greeks could have, nerf pretty much a lot of the other tactics of the Greeks, such as we're not fighting at night, we're not force projecting for whatever reason 20 kilometers beyond the hot gates like we actually would have, instead of just like 2 kilometers down the peninsula I had them drive in the video. And then we've got to buff the arse out of the Persians as well. For example, the steel, their courage and resolve, and the beasts, the elephants and the rhinoceros, which I made a bit more, I think, invulnerable than they probably would be in real life. And there's lots of comments that'll speak to that. But I suppose all this stuff is I want everyone to keep in mind as I'm going through the comments ahead. And why it got a bit crazy too is because of this, what you're seeing on the screen. If we hadn't have made these concessions, then, and I was struggling with this when I was sat down writing the script, and if for some of the member dudes who were in the planning room, you guys would remember at this point, I think I mentioned it, I was like, what's going to happen? It doesn't matter if it's what type of force they have. They're going to charge the machine guns, get mowed down and run away. And that's going to happen over and over and over again. And I was having this crisis where I was like, that's a shit video. Yeah, that's probably the accurate way the plan would transpire. And I've done everything right in terms of, oh, cool, I did my military appreciation sick, but now it's a crap YouTube video. So there's this balancing act at work. And this is what I determined would happen. Day 1, day 2, day 3, the exact same thing over and over again. The Persians would attack, get mowed down in droves by machine guns and run away. And also you'll see my little note there at the bottom. I determined this would be the case no matter which of their units they utilize, no matter how specialist or specialized. So it was this weird thing with this video where I realized I was pretty much just making a repeat of Helm's Deep, and that wasn't fun. That wasn't fun as a YouTube product, as content, as they say. So I made some concessions. That's how we ended up with what we ended up with. But I will say, I think that kind of little gamble paid off, because aside from some of the criticisms I'll get to in a second here, I think this video was pretty much overwhelmingly positively received. There were a lot of positive comments praising the battle simulation particularly, and how enjoyable and fun I suppose it was, which is what I was going for. Long story short, boys, to summarize everything I've just yapped about, and I'll get into the chat in a second here, I took a lot of creative liberties here as I just kind of got to nerfing certain elements of the forces, buffing the others in pursuit of a fun video. For the reasons I got to earlier, casting your mind back to that Venn diagram. Balancing all the different opposing forces here to get what is ultimately a fucking YouTube video out into the algorithm and the world and get pushed on people. Does that make sense, boys? So yeah, just keep that in mind as I'm going through these comments. And honestly, likely with that preface, I suppose, done, it's probably already answered a lot of the questions some of you guys here in the chat might have already in your brain, if that makes sense. With that being said, let's get to the chat. Where's my mouse cursor? Okay, I gotta scroll up a bit. Oh, send it, lol. Here's an idea. No, I'm not gonna read video suggestions now. I'll do that at the end. So if you got suggestions and shit, like if you want to say, hey, you should do this versus that, then save them to the end, and we'll hit them all in one go there. Latam Film Rec, Tropaji Elite. Blood, that was in the video. That's amazing. It's 11 PM in Thailand. I should be asleep. Yes, you should go to sleep. Sand groper here wouldn't be anywhere else. What? Victoria. I'm a bit confused about what acronym states. Yeah, I am too. Okay, you guys are talking about acronym states. Gotcha. I was confused too, Blood. Don't worry. Who is that? The goddamn bacon. Some skits names going on in the chat today. Can you do a video on the Canadian? No, I'm not bloody taking requests now. Get back to me. Detective Cheems. Oi, oi, old boy. Love the video. Thank you, good chap. Thank you, Detective Cheems, for your membership. Ackerman and Blood Mage. Oh, yeah, that was down the bottom, wasn't it? There were lots of battles in Africa where Melee... This looks interesting, so I'm going to read it. Scottski02 in the chat says, there were lots of battles in Africa where melee troops didn't instantly break when fighting against armies with guns. True. Rorke's Drift, for one, says John Smith. True. Chainsaw Lizard, much like the movie, some historical concessions needed to be made to make an entertaining product. Yeah, yep, that's pretty much what I'm trying to get at. Xenonauts, welcome back, mate. Good to see you. Just out of curiosity, in the future limb simulation, will we have soldiers with the new generation of weapons, XM7, XM250, RM338? Yeah, certainly. If I do a US Army unit, which is probably, this is kind of, it's not really spoilery because I've just spoken about this before, but I think when I eventually get around to doing Minas Tirith, Lord of the Rings, that will be a US Army, modern US Army unit. So that will probably be the time for the XM7 and the newest tranche of next-gen weapons to get a run on. The Killer Angel. How many casualties do you think the Greeks would have taken once the cavalry reached their line? Look, man, honestly, I didn't do such analysis, and the reason being because I didn't think they would even reach their line. There was at no point that I thought the risk of that was plausible, so I'd never ran like a casualty simulation on the Blue 4, and to be honest, I seldom do for any of the videos. Again, the Venn diagram thing, the most likely course of action pointed to over and over again, them being wiped out at distance and fleeing over and over, day in, day out. So that part in the battle simulation when I had them actually closing with, and it went to like, I think I have a throwaway line in the dialogue, which was like pistols v swords. That was not something that was part of the analysis, if that makes sense. This was the battle simulation going fucking nuts. So I didn't run such a figure on determining like what I thought would be a casualty rate of the Greeks in that little scrimmage there. John Smith, I know this may be a sore topic, but ops on the Emu War. I'll give you a little goss on that. I did plan on doing a April Fool's Day video on the Emu War. I had this funny, or kind of a goofy idea for it, but it's too late now. It's too close, so I'm not gonna have time. So that'll have to get pushed back a year. Slane said, only wished it was something more like a reservist company plus attached soft fire team to mimic the movie more, though reality would have been more even between the Greek forces experience. You know, that's actually a fair point. That's a good idea now that I think about it, because I suppose even in the movie, it shows real fake nutty Spartan Gerard Butler and his dealings with the Arcadians. So yeah, that is actually a fun idea, making it more akin to the movie in that way. But I suppose too, I did specifically want to keep the number as low as plausible. That's also one of the other things I go for here. I pick the force composition that, based on, you know, the rough initial analysis, I think can get the job done. And then I also try and make it as small as what's the word, like as plausibly possible it could get the job done. You know, I could say a mechanized brigade versus the Persians at Sparta. Obviously, the mechanized brigade is going to win. So it's more about trying to get the smallest possible modern force element I can and plug them into that scenario to see how they're going to win. Michael O'Donnell, if watching this as I feed my newborn daughter, lol the video. Okay, oh sorry, I'll keep the swear words down. Sorry, boys, I can't help it. I get a bit vulgar on the live streams. So yeah, apologies to my PG viewers. Username. Hey, I was watching the War Machine movie, then I started watching your video. I was expecting that you would take issue with the army having live ammo and grenade launchers on a training ground. Yeah, man, there was a lot more I could have mentioned in the War Machine one. I'm not going to, actually, you know what, I'm not going to talk about it now because I'll probably do a War Machine debrief next Sunday. So we'll save it for that. But yeah, you raise a fair critique, and that had crossed my mind as well. Okay, next slide, boys. I'm going to get back into it. Keep the chat coming. I can always scroll back up and read it, but let me lock back into the slides, and then I'll flick back over to the lives. So now we're getting into the comments. This first chunk of comments is pretty much all, it's critiques of some aspect of mostly the battle sim. There's not really critiques labeled it or leveled at earlier parts of the video. Mostly the battle simulation or how the battle transpired. The first one here was bodies. This was a trending comment. Christopher Sloan says, as someone that was in S3 operations, this is excellent. Only issues is that all the bodies in cratering would slow down the Persian troops, if not making movement impossible. Similar themed comment, decidedly ninja. I doubt the Humvee counterattack would have worked. The ground is very cluttered with dead horses at that point, and I'd expect Humvees to struggle with driving over them. Then again, the Persian cavalry would have to contend with the same obstacles, so maybe they never really had a shot at getting through. Sif1Y1231 says, one thing that you don't take into account is how after the initial light infantry charge, the ground will be so full of dead bodies, it would be completely impossible to maneuver around the wire and through the opening. This is doubled by the horses. Yeah, guys, I don't disagree with any of these criticisms. They're all entirely fair points. The hand wave way around it is I could come out and say the Greeks bloody cleared all the bodies away overnight. Even that would be an ordeal, because if you can imagine how long it would take to move thousands of corpses overnight when you want to try and get some kip, some rest in as well. So I don't even think that's a good hand wave away. In short, these points from these guys here are pretty fair, and there were other commenters that had similarly themed points, either pointing out that the Humvees would have been, what's the word, clogged up, I suppose, by the masses of dead bodies and dead horses and all that, and that the Persians' attacks would have been compromised by the bodies. Both entirely fair points. The Humvee charge, which I'll get to, I'll link it to some of the other questions or comments, which is coming out in a few slides down the track. That came out of, again, creative liberties. Because if you notice in the battle sim, I tried to escalate the weapons for no other reason than dramatic effect, if I'm being completely honest. As in, I think it's the infantry and the archers charge, they get nothing but machine guns. Or I think maybe the infantry get the heavy machine guns, and then maybe the medium machine guns open up. The archers charge, and they get the whole 9 yards, because I don't want the archers to get close, right? I don't want them to get within that massed volley range. So we smash them with every direct line of sight weapon we have, every belt fed. Next, I had, I think, the cavalry. And then in the cavalry, that's when I reveal the claymores. Not reveal the claymores. You knew they had claymores already, but that's when I used the claymores, right? And then the cavalry get routed. Then the immortals come, and that's when I open up with the Mark 19s. So honestly, a lot of this stuff was for mostly just for dramatic effect. Again, with that, the guiding principle I had for this one, which is I needed to make a fun battle sim. And part of the reason I was sitting there thinking about what the fuck do I do with this part? Because I'd worked it up to kind of this climax where the Greeks were getting overwhelmed. It was almost going bad for them. And then I wanted to have it like the big Lord of the Rings moment, right? Where it's Theoden in Helm's Deep and the lockdown in the keep, and they're about to get smashed and all hope is lost. And they go, fuck it, we're just going to storm out the gate. And then not long after that, Gandalf appears on the horizon and the dramatic orchestral music starts. That's sort of what I was going for there. So this answers 2 questions in one. That was how the Humvee counterattack came about, because it was sick. It was a sick idea, and I was picturing just Theoden in a Hummer. And it was also because I'd already used the 40mm AGLs at this point, and the most obvious thing here was just, okay, we're just going to start smashing them with the AGLs again, and that's going to entirely devastate their attack and the shield wall, and then they'll just, well, like I said before in the earlier slide, turn and flee, and then the video will be over. So yeah, I agree with these guys. I'm not insane. I don't think that Humvees are horse-proof and corpse-proof and can plow over mounds of dead bodies. Dramatic effect. That's where the Humvee charge come from. And yeah, as these guys assert too, though, the corpses certainly would have been problematic for the Persians attacking as well. Comments real quick. Up. JR, welcome back, my man. I imagine the Greek commander telling his sniper team, the sooner you take out the bald gold giant man, the sooner we get back home. Yeah, real. VXoid says, demining blade versus corpse pile would be interesting. And yeah, sorry. Demining blade is in, like what they have on the front of the tanks, so those killdozers and all that. True, that would have been interesting. Xenonaut says, before watching your video about War Machine, I watched the film and I swear those guys were so stupid, basically trying to die at every scene. Yeah, there were some dumb moments in War Machine, that's for sure. Saint Unasan, welcome back, my man. Good to have you. This reminds me of the scene in the Pacific where Barcelona has to push the stacks of Japanese bodies to clear the line of fire for the machine guns. True. Keeping everything about the Persian side the same as it was in the video. How hard would the Greeks need to be nerfed for success to be impossible, and or leading to the same fate as the Spartans? Keeping everything the same, keeping everything about the Persian side the same as it was in the video, how hard would the Greeks need to be nerfed? Ammunition. I suppose it's the simplest answer to that question. Do not give them the theoretical or, unlimited amount of ammunition they would need to accomplish the task. You would need an obscene in ammunition to get this job done. So I suppose that would be the easiest way to nerf the Greeks into a loss, to nerf them into the, as you put it, the same fate as the Spartans. Have them hold their ground, fire until their gun barrels glow white and melt to the ground, fire until every ammo liner is empty, and then go out swinging with bayonets and fighting knives and riot shields. That would be, I suppose, the way to nerf the modern Greeks into the fate of the Spartans. Ian, and oh boys, sorry, I keep forgetting your usernames change around. I don't get why YouTube did this. Ian Anderson, welcome back, mate. I thought the Humvee countercharge was epic AF. Yeah, there were a few comments, and I was glad dudes appreciated that, because I don't know if you noticed, but I crafted this really dramatic music, this score in the background. I didn't make the fucking score. I'm not a composer. Sorry, language. Apologies to the dude feeding his kid. As in, I edit in CapCut, right? CapCut has lots of stock music, royalty-free stuff you can use. But yeah, I found this really fitting, cool workup score for it. And it kind of, I managed to time it perfectly so the tension builds. And it was almost a bit, the music, a bit, we talked about it in one of the other streams, a bit Sicario-esque. That droning, like, woo, woo. But then it builds up to this dramatic thing just as the Humvees charge out. So yeah, I was glad you dudes enjoyed that, because I had fun editing that. JR says, it also made sense that if the Greeks knew they were going up against Army 300, they would bring as much ammunition as they could. Yeah, real. Yamo, I think, applies to almost every one of these scenarios. Yes, you're very right. Okay, next slide here, boys. Next point. Shields armor steel. A.G.3540 says, note, mostly bronze armor with maybe some iron or crude low-carbon steel thrown in, but not true steel as was used in armor in later periods. And to edit, there's no way in hell the Persians could armor their elephants with enough steel, inverted commas, to protect them and their crews from large caliber rifle, i.e. 308 and above, let alone rifle grenades and ATGMs! Exclamation mark. Not only could they not collect enough and refit... Okay, I get it. Next one, Rick Bainor. Pretty sure you're vastly overestimating how effective that shield wall would be against modern guns. D. Digwell says M2s wouldn't have needed to close to punch through 5th century BC metal, given the AP rounds can penetrate modern hardened armored steel. I hardly think middle-age iron steel could stand up to a 50 cal rounds. Again, all comments I entirely disagree with. There's nothing here that I take offense to. I think these guys are very right and fair in their criticisms. Again, dramatic effect. And this is kind of one of these, like, if I'm just saying this is, oh, I did that because it was fun. This also feels like I'm hand-waving, you know what I mean, the other side of it away. But this, I'm like, as I'm saying this aloud now, I'm sitting here thinking like, well, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. If I keep this, if I run these simulations true to how I believe, based on the assessment, these things would run down and have a boring video, then there's going to be the opposite version of these comments underneath every video saying, yeah, well, of course, they didn't get this and they would have done that. They would have. But then if I don't do that, I end up with these comments here. So it's like, what do I do? I suppose I'm never going to make everyone happy. So that's one aspect to it. But back to these guys' comments on screen here. Yeah, they're correct. I don't think the ancient Persian steel would have stopped the Greek weapons, particularly 308s and 50 cals. In my defense, I was pretty precise with my words. I think I said the shields offer some protection from the light machine guns. I think that was the only language I used when I was referring to how effective the Persian shields would be on that shield advance they did. So yeah, these guys are not wrong. I agree, 308, certainly 50 cal would smash through their shields. But yeah, I think the only thing I said was I think maybe there's a chance whatever improvised shields they could have clapped together overnight on these big, heavy, wheeled, moving things might have offered some protection against light machine guns being 5.56. If they're using M855A1, probably not a chance in hell, right? I don't know, maybe budget cuts have hit the Greek special forces in the last couple of years and they're still running old green tip or something like this, which probably still go through, to be honest. But yeah, that was my exact dialogue, just to kind of, defend myself a little bit. I wasn't trying to insinuate that I think the shields are stopping 50 cal anti-armor rounds. To D. Digwell's point here too, the charging out to engage the shields, it wasn't so much about, I thought they needed to get closer to punch through the shields. That was more just the psychological shockwave of them doing the King Théoden at Helm's Deep, charging out of the position with the Humvees, probably to a lot of these archers who, up until this point, hadn't laid eyes on these vehicles. It's fair to say maybe some of the archers from day one who had come across the Polarises were probably different archers, noting a lot of them were probably dead to the guys who were approaching the hot gates. So having these Humvees come blasting at you, full pierce tilt, and then come to a screeching halt, yeah, that's kind of the psychological edge I was going for there. Like the equivalent of them sending elephants at people, I suppose. The ammo, I think, applies. Okay, comments. Ammo certainly would. This would be a sick movie, though. Great Debrief, Krieg. You seriously... Oh, fucking here we go. Every time a comment starts with you seriously overestimate or seriously underestimate, I know I'm in for a treat. You seriously overestimated the range and accuracy of pre-industrial bows. The group sizes were 30 centimeters in diameter, 30 meters. Max range, mostly 200 meters for war archers. 300 meters is exceptional. Yeah, man, look, I agree. I agree with you. I think 300 meters is very generous. I think 300 meters is extremely generous. I did do a reasonably amount of robust research into ancient archery and modern archery. It turns out, from when I was looking at it, I was like, what do Olympic archers shoot at these days? Like, what's a point target for the best sports archers we have in the world these days? And going off the top of my head, I think it's 70 meters. So the greatest sport archers we have these days, they point target, like, you know, a bullseye scoring thing. I don't know the size of it. It looks to be maybe like 50 centimeters across, half a meter. It's huge. That's 70 meters. So me giving them 100 meter points and 300 meter area target, I'll agree with you that that is exceptional, your words. And to that, I would also counter, if I hadn't have said 100 meter point target, 300 meter area target, there would have been some archery nerds in here up my ass for daring to suggest that the great Persian compound bow could not hit a target at 300 meters or 400 meters or whatever it is. So again, damned if I do, damned if I don't. This happened in the Helm's Deep one. If you want to go back and flick through the comments on that, there were people incensed that the Uruk-hai bowmen, they were crossbowmen, I think, in that video, the range, the distance I'd given them, I can't remember what it was now. I haven't seen my own video in a while, but the reverse conversation or the reverse critique of what you just like labeled here. So yeah, what the fuck do I do, boys? Archers are passionate about their craft, I guess. Okay, other comments. Honestly, just a big disclaimer in front that this is for entertainment purposes. Like you've been doing this video would be perfect. Your breakdown was perfect for this video. Yeah, look, I feel, to your point, that was said by Soldat. Yeah, I think I covered a lot of that well in this video, to be fair. Like, kind of, I don't want to say covered my ass, but, you know, I did appropriate disclaimers for why the things worked out the way they did. With that being said, I don't want to do that every time. I don't want to have to do this like, hey, pause, guys. I know that this, you know what I mean? I'd kind of liked there to come a time when I can just play these things, and a lot of this is implied. Maybe that'll never happen, but that would be nice, because doing the disclaimers is kind of getting repetitive for me, and I would dare suggest it's going to become repetitive for anyone who watches these routinely as well. Okay, Arc Bing says, love that you do these debriefs. I think you do a great job of balancing the fun fact with the reasoned analysis and clearly outline where those fun decisions exist. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you. Thank you. Sean McClory says, nothing to add to the video. Just love your channel, the alliness and the topics you cover. Love from the UK. Thanks, man. Appreciate alliness. That's like a it's like Brit squatty slang for Gucci, isn't it? In Aussie, we say Gucci. Something's Gucci. And Kalanen says, not gonna lie, epic last stand down to right shields and knives would have been even more epic. Maybe in the next mission you can do the hold until relieved action where it comes down to that. Yeah, it could. And this is, you're right, that would have made for an epic video and fitting to the theme of the Spartans and the 300. If I have the Greek soft operators go down fighting to the last man with knives and bayonets. But then again, the dudes watching my video who are versed in military planning and military tactics, or maybe the military guys who are looking to learn a thing or two, or God forbid, and there's plenty of them, I have a rudimentary understanding, right, of the military decision-making and analysis process. It was not something that was like my bread and butter in the military. The dudes who watch this who are much better at it than me are going to be like, well, you fucked that up. If you made a plan and then As a result of your plan, you ran out of ammunition, you got overrun, and you fought to the death with bayonets. Your plan was shit. So that's also what conflicts my brain when I'm making these, right? I agree with you, that would have been sick, but at the same time, it's a concession that I'm not a very good military planner. So that's kind of a funny thing I think about, you know. What else we got? I think I personally could go for at least 500. Meters for the bows. Man, I think 500 is crazy generous, even for an area target. The other thing I did too in this bow research, I went and looked up longest bow shot this. I spent ages on YouTube, and there's even dudes like LARPers or whatever, lots in the UK, longbow volleys, and they get together and they shoot like big volleys of arrows, you know, at distant targets. These things are flying like 150 meters max, and that's in the volleys. So yeah, me giving these Persians 300 meters for their area target, I think was uber generous. Leon Peters Malone says, first question, can you tell me what software you use? Yeah, certainly. So I've got a few slides where I show you, actually. I'll give you a bit of behind the scenes coming up. I use PowerPoint for the animations. So all the little icons you see moving around and the traces and all that, I do that in PowerPoint, and I edit the videos in CapCut. Both are, well, they can be free. I pay for CapCut because you get a bunch of bonus shit, extra features, which at this point I need. But yeah, CapCut can be free. It's not a professional editing software. In fact, most editors would scoff at me for using CapCut, but it's just, at this point, I'm kind of locked in because it's what I've gotten used to, and transitioning to something actually professional, both for my animations and video editing, would just, yeah, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to learn it. So I'm kind of just rolling with what I've got, and I'm trying to milk as much out of I can out of these two programs. Kyle says, any modern military going up against an equivalent pre-15th century military would all essentially result in the same. He is immediately shredded and either flees in fear or simply mowed down to the man. Yeah, look, hard to disagree. The derp, but it's in elite speak, numbers and text. Are you planning to do more of these scenarios that blend reality and fiction, like Saving Private Ryan's version of Omaha Beach with its giant dune bidet bunkers? Yeah, man, I've got a point at the very end of this, the end of the slideshow, which I've got some ideas for, similar to what you described, which is, this is sort of new because I'd previously always said that I was never going to do real battles or real events. This one's kind of bending the rules because obviously Thermopylae really happened, but you know, 300 is such a fantastic take on it that I don't think I'm offending any either Greeks or Persians. Ancient Greeks or ancient Persians, certainly not. Okay, by the way, on the username and handle being, the user has to go to customize channel and change it themselves, since the channel name and handle are two different things you can change. Oh, that's right. I remember you guys told me this. I forgot. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. You can't. Soldat says, you can't please everyone. Like you said, just keep making videos, my man. You're cooking with a special sauce and it's working. Keep the good work. Thank you. Krieg43 says, did you find the bows versus muskets site? No, I did not. I don't know what that is. VXOID. Longest recorded point target for a bow is 330 meters. Longest rough area is 1.2 kilometers. I did see there were some YouTube dudes who had longer point targets. I think Dude Perfect. They're them, you know, throw the frisbees around and throw Coke cans in the bin and all this shit and jump around screaming. They had some crazy long point target that I think was like 800 meters. But the opening of the video is the dude saying, like, we literally had to get this custom-made bow, and they're shooting it off a cliff, and it's like the conditions they had to make to pull this point target off of 800 meters was insane. So, yeah, I wasn't buying that. Sorry, because I mentioned in the video, there was a source I found when I was researching the bows that 700 meters was the effective range, I think was their language, of the Persian archers, and I found that personally skeptical based on what I was seeing in secondary YouTube research. 1.2 Ks, what are they using? A ballista, yeah. Boys, random ass question. I just got a French parachutist knife. Any knife nerds know how to sharpen this thing? You're the knife guy. You're a class of digger in the video. It actually happened in Dude Perfect video. If I recall correctly, it was a 180-pound bow, which is fucking heavy. Got out of here. Got to head out of here. CSRC, cheers. No worries, Pro Bauer 47. Take care. Regarding this whiskey outpost video, Starship Troopers, more like Starship Poopers. Yeah. Okay. Getting back to the comments here, boys. Next slide. Beasts and horses. Similar theme. Guys, I'm not going to have too much extra to add to this because I feel I've already kind of explained away some of my thought process here. Tom Smith 247 says, I think you underestimate how easily elephants and horses can be scared. Pure Rage 1356 says, you also kind of ignore how the horses would be terrified of all the loud noises from the gunfire. Christian H 4723 says, the fact you allowed the Persian cavalry even marginal effectiveness for any amount of time is pretty hilarious. Even the best trained war horses would break down into a blubbering mess in the face of modern weaponry ordnance being used on them. Again, these guys, I'm not going to argue with them. I think they make fair points, and they're probably correct. In the case of the Persian horses, which I've never seen or heard or experienced gunfire or explosions before. Certainly a fair take from these guys here. But I think Christian's point at the end here, I think can be pushed back on a little bit. Specifically his line where he says, even the best trained war horses would break down into a blubbering mess in the face of modern weaponry ordnance being used on them. If he's referring to the Persian horses, fair, but not all horses ever, because we know that we can train horses to overcome the sensation, I suppose, of gunfire and modern weaponry through stuff like Beersheba. I believe it was charge of the 4th Light Horse Brigade. Australian Army military historians in the chat, feel free to roast me if I'm wrong. Oh God, can I even say the word? The place in the Middle East that are always not friendly with each other. I don't want to even say the countries' names. I think you get like demonetized on YouTube for mentioning the places. But Beersheba is in modern day Israel. Back then it was in the other place that these guys don't get along, right? I'll leave it at that. Anyway, the Battle of Beersheba, 1917. These dudes charged Ottoman trench lines across open ground. The Ottomans had machine guns, obviously rifles, and I believe there was even aviation assets working against the Aussie cavalry dudes as they were conducting this charge. They, as you can see in this picture here, pretty much that night before, they, I think, ordered all their bayonets to be sharpened, and they went in with a mix of their rifles slung on their back, and some of the dudes holding the rifles in their hand and doing the old, like, the mummy, trying to shoot while galloping, and other dudes just charging with bayonet in hand from their Lee Enfields. And yeah, managed to storm the Ottoman trenches, overwhelm them despite the fact they were being blasted by machine guns, and pretty much took over the town. It was a massive strategic victory for the Allies at that point, and it led to them securing. This was one piece of the larger operation to secure Beersheba, I believe. I'm not fully savvy on the Beersheba history, but this was like a contributing stroke to the canvas that was the masterpiece to capture Beersheba from the Ottomans / the Turks. So, case in point, very famous one in Australian military law of Australians. Yeah, I guess so. Australians, but horses charging machine guns and doing so effectively. So something to keep in mind. The other thing too, Beersheba, we're getting down into bloody history. The crazy thing about these dudes, one of the reasons I think they had to go when they did was there was no water. Obviously, it's the Middle East. It was drier than a bloody nun's nasty. These guys had to stomp 40 Ks overnight. The night before the attack, they attacked at dawn. Horse light infantry charge across the plains into Turkish machine guns. And they did it with only the rations they carried on them. And they knew that if they were unsuccessful, they had no water. So they were pretty much doing this attack because if they didn't succeed, that was it. They were cooked. Almost literally baking in the hot suns of Palestine. Don't demonetize me, YouTube. So yeah, crazy bit of Australian military law. Back to the comments. Live chat, sorry, not comments. Was the archer that shot on top of Everest? Is the SAS invasion of Hogwarts on the cards? Yeah, maybe. I'll talk about it at the end. These debriefs are missing a questions for you segment. That's got to be an Aussie. Who's that? Animarchi history. Hey, mate, how you going? What are you bloody doing up so early? That's a bit of, again, Australian niche military law for you. Not so much on the warhorse, says Leon Peters Malone, 3054. It depends on the era. Medieval warhorses could be vicious, stompy, bitey bastards who don't like you. I thought one of the lead units in charge of the Tental. I could be wrong. You could be right. I thought it was 4th Light Horse Brigade. Someone Google it for me. Battle of Beersheba horse charge. Something like this. Cavalry charge, light infantry charge. I thought it was 4th Light Horse Brigade. I'm not going to go down swinging on that because I could be wrong. Like I said, it's a bit of Aussie military law. I'm not like a guru of the battle. It's just something I know about because most Australian soldiers know about it. Really small whetstone, small and thin, like a raw. What are you guys talking? What are you guys talking about? Sharpening knives, sharpening blokes' French parachute knives. Sick. Can get ceramic rods for them. Hard to find a decent one though. I was thinking sandpaper. What is going on? You did sharpening blades in the chat? We got bloody knife sharpening PowerPoints. When you vid, I just released one. Calm your tits. Didn't you see War Machine came out yesterday? Mate, you're gonna be disappointed if you think there's another video coming anytime soon. just being real. You've been around for a while. You know my release schedule is anything but fast. Do you think you'll do any board game war games? Board game war, like Warhammer 40k. People talk about that a lot, but I've also been literally threatened with death to not go near 4k. Now that's an exaggeration, but I know 4k, 40k, whatever it is, 4k. I don't know. Warhammer fans are uber passionate, so that's one that's going to take an arse load of research again to honor and respect the IP and the fans. So I'm doing it due diligence. Other than Gallipoli, all I know of World War I Anzacs is that the Brits hated them since the Aussies would keep advancing without permission to loot the next town's bottle-os. Yeah, sounds on brand. It's crazy to think how razor thin a cavalry charge can either work or fail miserably against in-place machine guns in history. Got to go to the next PWS and Dan Murphy's 40k, tread carefully. Yeah, there you go. So every time I talk about 40k, there's like these thinly veiled threats of violence coming my direction. But with that being said, some 40k fans in like live streams before and in comments have been, I would say, helpful. Because I pretty much used this phrase before. Whenever someone's like, hey, you should do this from 40k, I'm like, I don't know anything about 40k. I don't know where to start. There's a bunch of dudes who are always like, hey, check this out, check this out, check this out. Only use this thing. There's some 40k like Bible, for lack of a better term. And it's the one like thing that's considered canon, I suppose. And so like, if you do a video, just for the love of baby Jesus, make sure you go off this, like use this as the source. Forget about, I don't know what you call it in 40k world, like the EU. So I think when the time comes to do 40k, I'll probably be doing a lot of reaching out to find some expert types. I might even reach out to some 40k YouTuber dudes if you dudes want to recommend some when that time comes. But I don't have any 40k and stuff in the works. But yeah, rest assured when that does happen, I'm going to give it a fair bit of research and representation. It's Warhammer 40k for the Emperor. Sorry, required. If you need help with research for 40k, I'll be happy to. I'll remember you, man. When it's time to look into it, I'll flick you a message here. The Motard speech to the Rangers laugh because they would have hazed him just for being you guys. Oh, yeah, War Machine. Yeah, real. Okay, you're right about 40k fans. Very passionate. This is Soldat. Very passionate. Can come out the right or wrong way a lot of the time. Live stream, nice. Coffee. Any chance of a Perrin collab? I'm not sure. I don't know in what way I'd collab with Perrin. I don't really know Perrin that well. I'll confess I didn't know Perrin until I started this thing. And then because I didn't watch a whole lot of I suppose Mill YouTube, really. And then yeah, I was doing my I was doing my live stream debrief for Helm's Deep, and Perrin was in the chat. He actually gifted. He gave me a bloody donation. I think it was like one of the first donations I ever had. Perrin the goat. And then I was like, I think by that stage of his channel, but I'd never really watched much of his stuff. But yeah, I know he's like a goat of analysis and logistics, I think is his big where he sort of shines, or that's like his area of expertise. To the uninitiated, Perrin is like another Australian mill tuber. He has lots of, I'd say he covers current events. Is that fair to say? He's done a lot on Russia, Ukraine, this sort of stuff. I haven't looked at his channel, but in a while, I dare say he's doing Iran at the moment now as well. But yeah, I don't know how I would collab with Perrin. Does he do that? Like, what would it be, a podcast kind of thing? Or, yeah, I don't know. Have you ever watched Gate, you motherfucker? I've got a slide for you. Your days are numbered. Who is this? And Shuriku 5635. Have you ever watched Gate? You wait your turn, mate. I've got something for you coming up. Sorry about the hostility. I'm turning heel. I'm turning mean in these fucking live stream, man. Like, I don't know. Is this just, do you just become more cynical and more cranky the more you do these? No, I'm not having a crack at you, Mr. Anshuriku, but I've got a fucking bone to pick with Gate, and I've got a slide to yap about it in a sec. Okay, next slide. Moving on. Next one, claymores and 40 millimeters. What about the reset claymores? Didn't see them used the last day. And the next one, sorry, that was said by Jeffrey Stoutenberg 195. Next comment by Wind Over Waves 6781. Okay, what happened to the Mark 19s and the claymores on the third day? The claymores, I didn't want to animate again. I'll confess. I remember saying it. I remember it as I was editing that part of the battle sim when I had that line in. It's got that night scene where it's, they repair their shields, or they repair their wire and they service their weapons and refit claymores. And I remember it was editing there and I had it selected and I had my finger hovering over the delete button because I was just going to be like, I really don't want to fucking animate the claymores again. So I'm just going to delete this line. But I didn't. And sure enough, there's like 5 comments saying, you fucking reset the claymores, but you didn't use them, you sack. What's wrong with you? So, yeah, that was laziness on my part, to be fair. I got to that part of the animation where I had the big attack by the Persians with the shield wall and the archers and the cavalry. And I was trying to... Once you see this other slide I'll show you with the animation, it might make more sense. Having to do the claymores again under that would have made me rope. So I was like, fuck me dead, I don't want to do the claymores again. The Mark 19s, why they didn't get used again on the third day was because there wouldn't have been a third day. The Mark 19s would have obliterated the shield wall at 800, 1,000 meters out, or as soon as whatever the line of sight distance was on the map, I can't quite remember, and the shield wall wouldn't have made it anywhere near close enough for the archers to get within range. The archers don't get within range, they can't launch their volleys and suppress the Phocian wall. They can't launch their volleys and suppress the Phocian wall, and the cavalry can't storm any closer. The cavalry gets gunned down at fight. Again, creative liberties on pretty much why I just use the Mark 19s once to answer your question, because there's such in this exact example too, I think devastating and tide turning weapon that there's no fun to the battle sim. With the Mark 19s, it's especially more so than everything else. The Persians charge, get obliterated, flee. The Persians charge, get obliterated, flee. So that was why I didn't introduce the Mark 19s on the last day, because it wouldn't have made sense even if I had introduced them. Why am I suddenly only shooting at 200 meters, 300 meters at the shield wall? Why have I not been lobbing them into this mass from 1,000 meters out or whatever? So yeah, honestly, just I suppose, what would you call that? Fun choice. Okay, comments. Tread carefully. 40k is a rabbit hole deeper than you may expect, says Kuba. Yeah. Look, I fear it because I understand, not just the passionate fans. I'm used to passionate fans being mad in comments, so that's nothing new. But I fear how broad it is. Like, I know there's a whole massive scope to the 40k, or how massive the scope to the 40k verse is. So yeah, the thought of getting into that as a rookie is intimidating. Sorry, I'm catching up from past. What do you think the odds of Persians clearing the fighting area with casualty collect? Nah, none. There's dead bodies everywhere. John Smith, yeah, Bricky's every faction re-explained is pretty in-depth on fact. What? Honestly, I might recommend Crack Duck. I don't know what this means. Sorry, man. Not high would be... Saints on the Sun says, yeah, Gate manga is better, way more detail and style is better. Also, don't cheap out and canonically change Jedi camo to some weird... Have more Gate stuff. Gate is slop no matter what, to be honest. It's JSDF propaganda made by an ultra-nationalist and people like it for the concept. Gate haters. And Nicola, for every time Gate was mentioned in the streams or comments, would get this blood. Would get this man to retire early. 100%. Yeah, you're going to get me riled up, but I've got a slide coming up on it. I was just thinking about how the Greeks have got the batteries for their nods. Yeah, true. Out of curiosity, Arkbeam says, how many hours did you spend researching and writing the episode before you get to actual production? Good question. I like questions like this. I like questions about the back-end stuff. The writing is the longest part by far, as in writing my script out. The guys who do the planning room live streams, which is the members locked ones, if you want to watch them, join up the membership. I show them sometimes. I'll have the bullet point of the script there and I'll have the PowerPoints up and like I dot point through the script. But yeah, writing that takes the longest of time. I can sort of hunker down and get the animation probably take about a week, as in the battle sim takes about a week. And then the edit for the video takes about another week, noting that the animation slips into that. So the first
really 3-4 parts of the video don't take me that long, as in the introduction, the friendly force analysis, the enemy force analysis, and terrain. I can knock that out in about a week once I'm sat down and splicing and getting assets and all that. The longest part is by far writing the script, and in this case, this one took me months. I opened this script to start typing this Battle of Thermopylae in, I think, early December, late November. Now, I haven't been working on it super diligently all that time. I slacked off a bit, noting it was Christmas. I had some other stuff, just some family trips away, things like this. So I wasn't fully devoted to it, but yeah, this one took me a long time. I'd been typing this one since last year, I'll put it that way. Okay, other comments. Halo would slap, but I still laugh at how they're still using 7.62 NATO. You can reuse existing animations in PP. Yeah, I'll show you how. You can't reuse. Yeah, you can. It's just a matter of, yes, sorry. You can reuse it, of course, and I do that. Like, I have templated animations, but it's even just layering it when I start getting heaps of shit on the screen. PowerPoint sucks for moving stuff around. You know, like when you're working in any image processor or whatever, and it's move to back, move to front, move back. So you can imagine I've got 500 of these little red dots on the screen, and I'm trying to move a claymore, like move to back, move to front. And then I have multiple layers of the background, so I can do those effects like the burnt ground, the blood and all that, and it just goes to shit. So stuff that goes on the bottom layer drives me nuts. So yeah, it's not a matter of having to redo the animations. It's a matter of having to integrate the animation back in. I said redo the animation, like I guess in layman's terms, but yeah, as you obviously know what you're talking about. So yeah, it wasn't that I redo it, I'd have to relayer it. Isn't this entire channel just gate for the ADF? No, I've only done one video on the ADF, so I don't know. Gate just reminds me of the silliness working CGI ATF missions can really get. LX, have you already talked about the consequences of all the bodies? Yes. Look, I heard a story from running out of batteries from units in Afghanistan. Up. Am I hallucinating? Have you talked about the behind the scenes somewhat extensively on a public stream video? I have talked about behind the scenes to some degree. It's not as thorough as what I go into on the planning room ones though. Like the planning room dudes literally helped me there. I have the Word document open and the edit and the animation, and I'm sitting there like typing, the Persians come up the peninsula and get slaughtered, and I'm like, slaughtered, is that a good word? And dudes in the chat are like, annihilated, murdered, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's better. That's the level of, I suppose, I'm talking about behind the scenes. Can you do Czech Special Forces versus Heku? What's Heku? Is that Half-Life? The Half-Life urban camo dudes? Nitpick follow-up. Is it taking you 5 hours to make a video, 40 hours, 100 just ballpark? A good rule of thumb is you'll see people mention in editing like 1 hour of editing per minute of footage. So this one was about 50 minutes, I think. The Thermopylae video, for me, it's more like probably 2 hours per minute of footage is what I'm running at in terms of editing, noting that the animation takes up the bulk of that time, but I still class that as editing because it's part of the video. The fact this man is using Blender, PowerPoint instead of Blender or some other 2D effects is crazy to me. Yeah, I don't know how to. Oof, I used to Flash CS. I don't know what this means. Writing something that sounds good when read aloud is harder than it seems. Yeah, and to your point there, JR, the other thing when writing, what's hard to avoid is repetition. And that's when, if you go and listen to, it drives me nuts. Because when I do the quick videos like the War Machine one I just did, that script is pretty much just me spitballing. I type like literal bullet points, 3 to 5 words. As in, I had like a timestamp. I sat there, I watched the movie, I took notes, and then I just have bullet points, and then I just hit record and kind of freestyle. And when you do that, the good thing is you can write a script in like a day, which I did. But the bad thing is you end up with lots of repetition, or you don't really iron out just some of, in my case, what do you call it? Like what do you call it when someone has like a word that they say over and over again? Not a tick, something that, idiosyncrasy, there you go. So in the Hell Machine, in the War Machine one, I think I said the word hilariously like 6 times. I went back when I was rewatching the video and I was like, God damn it, why did you say that so many times? But that's what happened when you kind of freeball the script. Whereas when I do these tactical analysis scripts, I'm way more diligent. Like I fully autistic go through and make sure, have I said slaughter too many times? Or have I said a torrent of machine gun fire more than once? Stuff like that. And that's like when I get really nitty gritty with those scripts. But the tactically speaking scripts are far more free balling, and you'll probably notice that when you watch a tactically speaking video versus a tactical analysis video. It's just that I repeat myself a lot more in the tactically speaking ones. Yes, Half-Life. I don't know. Look, man, I prefer the stuff makes sense. Like, is there a link to Czech Special Forces versus Heku? Like, is there a canon way that makes sense? Because isn't that set in, like, Arizona? I've got nothing against Czech Special Forces. I'm sure they're mad dogs. But you know what I mean? Like, I like these things to kind of make sense. Okay, next one. Saint says again, yeah, but what? Oh, okay. 1 minute of footage equals 60% energy drinks, 5% editing, 45 re-editing. Yeah, true. War Machine versus actually Army Rangers. War Machines versus Rangers without Roid Monster. Roid Monster. I assume you're talking about Alan Richardson, which, yeah, I said Alan Richardson in the video. Again, these things happen when it's a quicker edit and a quicker recording. Alan Richardson, he is a beast. I thought he did a good job in that movie. I'm not going to talk about War Machine. I'll save that for next week. Sorry, next slide. Let's move on, boys. Lord Metzger Meister says, I'm going to sip from my water really quick because I'm getting bloody, the black lung. Not allowing indirect fire in a modern military engagement is crazy. It would actually be the most civilized way to handle a conflict right after diplomacy. Bomb their weapons transport with drones and the war is over before the Persian army even sets foot into Hellas. Seems like mortar teams have been overlooked. To both these points, yeah, again, if I use artillery, I don't have a video. They're not making it they're not making it on the coastline on which the hot gates are located, much less, you know, they'll probably not even up the Greek peninsula. Mortar teams, the ETA dudes, I'm not sure they even had 60 mil mortars. I think they're in vogue with a lot of SF units. Sorry, I know a lot of SF has bigger units too, 81s. Sorry, bigger mortars, 81s. But I'm not sure the Greek ETA dudes did. I wasn't looking for it because I wasn't going to plan on using mortars from the beginning anyway. But no, that wasn't so much that they were overlooked. They were just omitted by design for all the reasons I've gotten into again. I'm going to go one more comment here before getting back to the chat because I'm blasting through. Some of these are kind of I'm giving them the same answer. You've probably seen this trend by now, so that's why I'm pumping through a bit of these so I can get into some of the more fun ones. Kolvamoon says, I don't know if you covered this, but Xerxes in the film is meant to be portrayed as how the Greeks saw him. The movie is meant to be a campfire retelling, hence why some parts are unbelievable, like the fact the Spartans don't wear armor or how the immortals look like demons. In short, it's very much filled with Spartan bias. Yeah, I did cover that in the film. You obviously didn't watch it, the video, before making this comment. It's not so much what I want to chip in for again. It's more, it is interesting because, yeah, the story of how the Battle of Thermopylae went down is, I believe, in the history books, recorded courtesy of Herodotus. I don't know how to pronounce ancient Greek dudes' names. And yeah, there's criticisms labeled at his accuracy and also some of the fantastic ways in which he recorded some of these ancient battles. So yeah, man's not wrong here. And yeah, I did sort of cover this in the video, but more so in the sense of how I do think the movie deserves more credit than it gets because it's often just criticized for it's ridiculous and it's over the top but then it's perfect because it's Dilios telling us the story, and that's how a soldier would tell you the story. The embellishments and the craziness and like the emotion and just all the rawness and the violence and also the sensational nature of it. That's how that story would get told to you. So I love the movie for that. But yeah, I do think it deserves more credit, as I said in the film. Another one here, boys. Ranger 24FF says, so basically the Greek position, assuming they don't assassinate Xerxes, is actually very likely to either run out of ammunition or be overrun by sheer numbers without proper logistics and a bit of plot armor. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's correct. If they don't have ammunition, then they can't fight a defensive battle and win fucking profound take. Yeah, also why when you're doing the plan, you make sure you have enough ammunition for the task at hand. So yeah, again, you're not wrong. It's just it's almost like a non-critique for me. Yeah, it's what do you say? So the only reason you'd won is because you had enough ammo. Yep, man, that tends to be how it works. But there were a few comments along the theme of ammunition, as in I don't think they had enough ammunition, but there was no one really crunched the numbers. No one really counted my figures, and you know what I mean? Like, you can speculate and you say, oh, I don't think you had enough ammo. Okay, fucking run the math. I did. So I didn't see anyone who had like a good amount of figures in place and had run any calculations that sort of put my ammo figures to shame. Is it possible it's wrong? Yeah, entirely. But I've not seen evidence to demonstrate the contrary. Sipping on water and coming to comments. Yeah, Soldat. Yeah, JDM Striker 155 on Xerxes. Make a very short video. I believe Big Dog Hero is the correct way to refer to him. Herodotus, I believe, Leon Peter says, it's one of the more document battles, but it's also saying history was as much poem as it was history. Delos made one mistake. His story is supposed to start as there I was, no shit. Man, have I got a slide for you coming up. Did these guys watch the video? Clearly not. Elephant versus Lab, pin of shame. Yeah, it could be pin of shame, actually. I should start doing pin of shames again. Actually, I don't think I ever really did pin of shames. I used to do pins of huff, pins of things that would make me laugh. I think if you go and look at the Star Wars video, the one I've got pinned there, I'm not sure if it still is, but this made me fucking bust up laughing, not bust, the other type. It was just like timestamp, editor, or was it like admin reveal? Not admin, I can't remember what he said. No, face reveal, timestamp, face reveal, and then you click on it, and it's just this still frame that I had in the video of Chewbacca's big, hairy, goofy-looking face covered in snow. I was like, you motherfucker, well played. That's funny. So I think I pinned that. That was a good one. So yeah, I think I'll start doing pins of fun because they make me laugh. Short attention span. Some people didn't watch the whole video. If I don't have a sponsor for a video, I always pin of shame. And I'm actually, yeah, true. Yeah, because if you have a sponsor, you've got to pin the sponsor one, right? I made a mistake. I think it was on whichever one I had War Thunder on. I was like, I pinned a dude's comment and I was like, oh, because you've got to like, when you get a sponsor, right? You've got to pin the comment for them, for the War Thunder. And just for a second, I was like, oh, goddamn, I forgot about it. And then like quickly repinned the War Thunder one. But yeah. Nah, no bloody, anyone running sponsorships? I'll bloody take sponsorships. Like a bit of sponsorship. Oh God, I maximized the PowerPoint and I hope you can still see it on the screen. Okay, back to the PowerPoints here, chaps. I think I'm wrapped up with, oh no, sorry, one more. That's half Latino says, interesting name. No mention of FPV drones makes this not modern enough. Matt Kite 7246 says, I feel like you've got to start adding a drone or 12 soon. Emerson Tan says, I have this vision of Xerxes being knocked off by an FPV drone while still on the march. Those things are probably the ultimate command decapitation weapon at this point in history. Xerxes is a Russian colonel general. The drones find them all. That reminds me of Admiral General Aladdin. Supreme Leader, the drones are coming. The drones thing, I've used FPVs once. I used them by the Rangers in the Battle of Hoover Dam to take out the artillery piece on the Hoover Dam, which the Fallout New Vegas fans will know what I'm talking about. But I'm not jumping up and down to start introducing FPV drones as a mechanism in any way, like as a storytelling device or as a military capability. Pretty much for the reasons this guy says here, as Emerson says, it's if you have an FPV drone, why are you not murdering the Urukai commander? Why are you not immediately murdering Xerxes? Why are you not immediately murdering who's the general from Fallout? I can't remember. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's one of these things, yeah, it's probably accurate to weave it into the analysis and planning side of it, but is it a fun video? Probably not. Okay, some comments here real quick. Would you go back and forth with limited ammo and constantly supplied ammo in the scenarios like defense versus attack? I'm not sure I know what you mean. Would you go back and forth with limited ammo and constantly supplied ammo in the scenarios like defense versus attack? I don't understand, sorry, mate. Drones make battles so boring, says Polish gunman. What, gunmen, plural? There's bloody more than one of you? Yeah, I agree, man. 511 has few stores here in Australia. Go for 511 or a Tasmanian Tiger sponsor. Oh, like Kit. Yeah, gotcha. Smash versus drones. Boom. Lots of cutting fiber with belt scissors. Ukrainians versus anyone. I'm just smashing through comments here real quick. Also, I'm in the process of making a video game about your tactical analysis videos. I even emailed you about it. You know what? I did Hey man, I did see that email. I haven't like I saw the notification. So I saw like hey game. I haven't read the full thing, but yeah, I will reply to you tomorrow. Apologies for not replying already. Did see it, will reply. Did see your email. Dan Band says, swear I saw a thing where you can pay to have a message or a plushie on the FPV drones in Ukraine. What the fuck? Insane, but genius if so. Like the business acumen of these dudes that's out of control. Okay, next slide. What do you got here? Sorry, one more. Shan Shirobo. I understand why drones are the new meta, but man, is it lame that drones are the new meta. Yeah, that seems like even it's just like the drone fatigue is real. Dudes just are desensitized from watching Russians and Ukrainians murder themselves nonstop with FPV drones and saying like, oh, drones are boring. They make my war footage boring to watch. Oh no. But yeah, I get the sentiment from, a serious and ironic perspective as well. Robots ruin war, says Animachi. Yeah, man. Not keen to be fighting the T800s. Okay. Wrapped up with really the most of the criticisms. So the criticisms can be summarized broadly, as in a lot of the reasons why I did things I did was for entertainment / fun / comic relief. And a lot of the theme critiques were pretty much I can hand wave away with that. Might sound shitty, but yeah, that was the way this video sort of went. And I've got a few other slides talking about this in more detail in a bit, but I'll just wrap up these sort of. That's the end of like not the negative comments, but the sort of the comments that are criticizing either the plan or why this wasn't done or why that was done. Irish Kaiser, Hail Caesar, says, amazing video as always, although I'm kind of surprised you didn't have the Greeks get into enfilading positions on the mountainside. They have expertise in mountains environments, right? Imagine a few snipers in the mountains firing, suppress shots of the Persians, they advance, could cause quite a bit of confusion and delay. I like comments like this where it's like, hey man, did you consider this other thing? Because that like stuff that makes me stop and think like, yeah, that's like a fair point. But here's why I didn't, in short. And I thought I'd chuck a little graphic up here. We already have enfilade fire for one. So we have frontal enfilade fire. If we're doing flanking enfilade, yes, it's still enfilade because they're stacked so thick, but it's not as much enfilade, I suppose. Acknowledging he said snipers, not machine guns. And this would be more problematic for machine guns. But the other issue I have here is that I don't like the idea of just these guys being so dislocated away from this secure position in this terrain where they could potentially be chased down by the hideous mutant immortals who are, powered by the will of the God King and hacked to pieces. So it is kind of a risk having a small element out there for the position as well. Noting that it's not like fully cliff mountains. It's not like unpermissible terrain. You can just get up there and snipe down on them without them getting up to you. They'd probably dispatch some guys to push on you pretty quick. So it was more a matter of risk management. You could argue it was maybe a bit risk averse to keep the snipers co-located in the MDP. Also noting that with particularly their heavy caliber weapons, their frontal enfilade, as shown in the graph here, would have been used to better effect than on a flanking position. So that's kind of a chart that speaks to what I'm on about there. Another one similarly, here's something that I hadn't thought of, but I quite like it because it's like a, hey, why didn't you think of this? Or did you think of this? Comment. Brilliant. Thank you, says Tapio Perala. Edit, though I'm a bit surprised there was no attempt to block anything with explosives to the mountainside. A landslide would have made things interesting for the attacker, but perhaps it wasn't feasible. Very good idea, but yeah, it's probably not practical because, again, it's not like a cliff face and it's not very steep terrain, so there's probably not a way you could employ your explosives to create a landslide that's going to block the pass. I acknowledge this is a photo from obviously contemporary times, right? But with that being said, this is still it's a reasonably accurate photo because what you're seeing now is sort of what the pass would have been at the time, because behind the camera is kilometers and kilometers of farms and fields and shit, which at the time was like water. So this photo is pretty cool because where this dude is standing is probably like back to where the little beach was, where the coast was. So this is kind of a decent look at how it would have looked. So this is sort of why, to that dude's comment, sorry, I forgot your name, Tapio Perella, why explosive for a landslide wouldn't have been very viable. On this note too, I've been to Thermopylae. It is sick. hinted at in the video. I didn't sort of, I recommended you go. I think it was implied that I recommended you go because I've been too, but I didn't outright say it. Yeah, I went to Thermopylae it was still COVID. Managed to get into Greece. It was just a bit of a holiday. And, the Greek islands is one thing. That's everyone goes bloody crazy than clowns cocks for. But get on the Greek mainland, boys. If you get the chance, go to Greece, rent a car, drive from Athens, stop by Delphi on the way, see the ruins there, and then pass on to Thermopylae. You can do this in like a half-day trip. Go and praise the statue of the great king Leonidas and see this terrain firsthand. You will literally get chills, I tell you. It's a bit, in some ways it's anti-climatic because there's a highway like right next to it and there's no water and it doesn't look anything like obviously the movie, but you can still, man, there's a reverence to the place. And just knowing that this has been the site of dozens of battles over the years, with the earliest being one of the most legendary last stands in history, and the most recent having a special bit of a place in most Aussies' hearts because there was an Anzac defensive battle fought here in World War II, again, which I got into the video. But just knowing that, thinking about the amount of dudes and different factions and allegiances and armies that have fought here over the centuries is nuts. So it's really a really cool kind of special place to go as far as battlefield tours are concerned. It's not a whole lot to see. There's a statue of Leonidas. There's remnants of the Phocian Wall. There's the hill. You can just see the sign for it there in the background, the little brown sign, Kolokos Hill or something. That's where, in the real battle, they don't show in 300, they actually fought to the death on this little knoll. So they all pulled up here, but they were swarmed by the Persian archers in the end. So that was like where the actual Spartans made their final stand on that little hill there. But yeah, if you can, boys, check it out. Okay, check the comments real quick. Ari Carry On says, honestly, my favorite little part about tactical analysis videos is center of gravity, something about condensing central advantages to single points. It feels video gamey and I like it. Yeah, cool, man. I'm glad you dig that because it's a very real thing. Center of gravity is they're a hot topic. Like, you'll have dudes arguing a lot when you're doing these things for, even just in training, I mean, when you're doing your little tutorials and that sort of thing in the army. The center of gravity is this. That's that. Dudes like tear each other's hair out trying to agree on the center of gravity, but it's a useful tool. There's arguments to be made that center of gravity analysis is useless at the really low tactical level, like, platoon, section commanders, platoon commanders, this sort of thing. Probably only really starts being valuable at company levels. There's a case to be made for that, but I still think it's a fun and interesting concept, as you've pointed out. And yeah, certainly in the military, it's something that I don't think it makes your analysis of the enemy any worse, being able to consider their center of gravity, even if you are just like a lance corporal or a corporal or a section commander at these like junior levels. Okay, what are we talking about? Okay, there's chat talking about drones. Not going to get all into that. Okay, drones. Moving on. I don't want to bloody get into drone maxing 2026. Another comment here, boys. I'm not going to lie, these ones get on my tits a little bit. That other G says, could you, OU, do a video where the modern counterparts are on the attack? I see all of these videos are always about defending. My suggestion, how about modern military take on City of Theed and the Phantom Menace? Suggestion rejected, because I have videos where the modern counterparts are on the attack. And as a rule, I generally do a defensive one, an offensive one, a defensive one, an offensive one. So like my last 5 videos, I think, have stuck to this rule. So yeah, if you want to see an offensive one, go check out on screen there. You can see the Battle of Hoover Dam and the Predator video, because those are both offensive operations. I have fun with these, but I also dread them. They take way more detail, way more scripting, way more, I suppose, planning and research than the defensive ones. And the way you have to lay it out is it makes for just a longer video as well. And it's honestly the kind of a slog. So when it comes times to do the offensive ones, I start like getting the dreads. The Predator one was the first one I did. So that one really, man, that was like an ordeal, because I had to work out how I was going to plan the task. That's one thing. How do I plan this mission? And then how do I present it in YouTube? They were sort of not working together, wasn't gelling. So man, that was tricky. But now I've kind of got a template down, which I applied again for Fallout. So my workflow is a little bit quicker, but still, yeah, the offensive ones are a ball buster, man. And I will say too, on a practical YouTube perspective, the offensive videos, and clearly as this dude's in here commenting on one of my videos and didn't even know they exist, they don't perform as well. They don't pull the numbers. I think it's a matter of they're not as fantastic, I suppose. Big defensive battles, they're easier to conceptualize. They're much easier, in my case, to put on a map and animate as well. But yeah, these offensive videos, both my Fallout one and the Predator one in particular, the Predator one just bombed. There's no other way to put it. That when I dropped that, it was on struggle street. It was not pulling any views at all, which made me sad because I busted my ass on that one trying to create like this offensive thing, thinking that it was just as interesting as, you know, what I'd done prior up until that point, which was Helm's Deep and Hoth Star Wars. Arguably two much bigger IPs. That could be a contributing factor as well, right? Like smaller fan bases for Predator. But yeah, long story short, on this comment, I do have offensive videos. Go check them out. I'm meant to be doing another offensive video next. I'm not fully locked in on that. I'm hoping coming up in the next few slides. Maybe you dudes can help me out. Okay, this is the last sort of bit on talking about the design of the, what do you call it, the battle sim, and then I'll move on to some silly ones. So these comments here, they're all positive. These aren't like critiques. I'm not going to read all of them. They all say pretty much the same thing. Malcolm Heavy says, I just discovered your channel and this is absolutely fantastic. Well researched, planned and executed, especially like the Persians adapting to the Greeks with improvised responses to the Greek tactics and firepower. This is a great addition. Keyword adapting. Dirty Deed says, bro, the switch up and letting the enemy adapt. Keyword adapt. Energetic Heretic, cool name, says, this has been my favorite video of yours so far. I like how you dynamic about the scenario about having the Persians adapt. Keyword. Awesome. Evan says, I do appreciate the thought you put into how the Persians respond to Ether being there instead of Spartans. Adapt, right? Keyword. Awesome, Evan. I made it into the PP. Hey, bruh. Thanks for the comment. It's a kind one. You're not in here because I think you're slagging me off, so I appreciate your input. It's not often that, I think that's the first time there's ever been anyone from the comment. No, not the first time. But it's rare. It's rare that I have a comment slapped up here and it's from someone happens to be in the live stream. So these boys here, these comments, they're not slagging me off, they're not negative, but they like the adapt. And this was a trending comment. I saw this a lot. There's such a cool battle sim because the Persians adapted, right? I need to talk about that in detail because I can't do that every video, and here's why. I'll use Helm's Deep as my constant, maybe, or I'm going to do sort of a compare and contrast here between Helm's Deep, because that's probably the video that most of you have seen if you're a subscriber to the channel. And also it's the one that's most similar in terms of how the battle plays out and is laid out to what we just did in Thermopylae. So Helm's Deep, single day battle, arguably a matter of hours, how it went down in my one, and a capable commander in Sauron. Thermopylae, 3-day battle, crap commander in Xerxes. Note these differences. These are important. When I make Helm's Deep, right, when I'm doing my analysis on Helm's Deep, this is what I went through and I found. As I'm going over the Iroquois and I'm thinking, what is their most likely course of action? What is their most dangerous course of action? Sorry, that's what MLCOA is. I'm thinking to myself, they're going to withdraw. Why? They're not suicidal. Yes, they have unlimited magic courage, but they would withdraw either by a tactical choice on the part of their leaders to save some of their force, or they would withdraw out of, at the worst case, just chaos, right? They'd be routed. We also determined that their center of gravity was their ability to concentrate force, or it was their size. 10,000 strong, and they can wheel and deal this force of 10,000 Urukhais very tightly, very efficiently, very quickly, because they have magic powering them. As in, you can pick up this group of 10,000 dudes, move them around very, very quickly just on foot, because they're powered by magic. Some foul magic gives speed to these creatures, or whatever Legolas's line is. And our mission for Helm's Deep, much like it wasn't the same mission in Thermopylae, but we had to destroy them, right? So what happens is, when I'm doing my battle sim and I've made all this analysis, if the Iroquois enter the valley in Helm's Deep, I start engaging and they withdraw, and I've killed, I don't know, dozens, 100, my plan sucked. I didn't consider the most likely course of action, which is I assessed, and most of the commenters were right in saying the Iroquois would simply withdraw. They're not going to get massacred in that fashion, which is a fair criticism. Alternately, the Iroquois withdraw, after extremely first contact. The second, if again, think the Helm's Deep video, the second those bombs go off, they get instantly routed. The Uruk-hai commander says, fuck this, we're out. Let's go back and rethink this. And then we're going to do what a lot of the comments in that video say. We're going to send in spies, and Saruman's going to have recon hawks, and what does he have? Crows going in. And we're going to have Uruk-hai up in the mountains doing reconnaissance. This does two things I don't like. Firstly, it's a massive departure from the source material. Think back to my Venn diagram at the start of this stream. So the battle's no longer occurring how it did in the movie. And secondly, what's the so what of this, or what's the falling out? Eventually, are they going to launch another attack? Are they going to send some guys to try and steal some guns? Are they going to sneak in the dark and try and kill some of these Australian soldiers? None of these things end in a battle simulation video. And similarly, the final point here, the Uruk-hai withdraws. Sauron says, well, that's insane. I'm not sending my very precious 10,000 elite heavy infantry into this magic weaponry where they're going to get decimated. Let's not attack them. Sauron, what's your recommendation? Or what's going to happen next, right? Then there's no video. So this is the problems I have there with Helm's Deep. So what you end up doing in Helm's Deep is, as a result of the analysis, the Uruk-hai can't adapt because we effectively planned for it. When we were thinking about what they would do, likely, we counted for this. And so if you think back to that Helm's Deep video, it wasn't really an attack. It was an ambush. And it was very specifically, I catered that attack to be kind of, Helm's Deep was where I was thinking way more realistically, and I didn't go off the rails like I kind of did in the battle sim for Thermopylae like we just did. The goal in Helm's Deep was, knowing that they're probably going to withdraw on contact, I had to suck as many of the Uruk-hai into the valley as I could, and then trap them there with cut-off fires through my mortars and automatic grenade launchers. So really, that Helm's Deep video, I would foresee that if that had gone down the way it was shown in the CSRC battle sim, it's almost real time. Like, that battle is over in less than an hour. If they get trapped in there by those mortars and those indirect weapons and it becomes a kill zone, which is what I was going for there, thinking and knowing that they were going to withdraw, that's why that went down the way it did, right? And that's also the counter to one of the other criticisms of that video, which is, yeah, but why didn't you attack the Uruk-hai from, the range of your heavy machine guns is 2Ks, and you waited till they got closer. You'd be engaging them further out. You'd be dropping mortars at 5Ks. Same reason again, because the assessment is that they're going to withdraw on contact. They're not going to just get massacred. So that's why we had to sucker them in and annihilate them in place, because we're trying to destroy them. So the bold point here is they couldn't adapt because it had been counted before the battle even starts. We've thought about how they would adapt, and we've not let them, or we're not going to give them the opportunity to do it. I'm going to read this verbatim because it's far more succinct and I'll ramble otherwise. The so what is the Persian adaptation in what we just saw. It only happened because, and I said this in the video, Xerxes is insane. The battle went over multiple days, which gave them those periods of darkness to make these adaptations. So that's one of the key parts too, that we had nights between every day of fighting, that the Persians could go away and say, this isn't working, we need to come up with something else. What are we going to do about this Greek magic? And tying this all together is the bottom point there, which is concessions were granted. So similarly to, yes, they had the nights to plan these adaptations. They had the nights because we had to nerf the Greeks from not bombarding their camp from 2 kilometers out with 40mm AGLs, or harassing them with 50 cals, or going up into the mountains with sniper rifles and thermals and sniping Xerxes the second he steps out of his tent for a piss. So you see what I'm getting at here, boys? Like, the adaptation that everyone loved so much, and it bums me out. What everyone loved most about this video is not something I can repeat for those reasons. Separate meme here. Look at this fucking 4chan. I love this. This is one of my favorite green texts of all time. Sauron, man, you've allied with Sauron. I think I pissed my pants when I first saw that one. And so the clash I'm working with Thermopylae, and this sort of gets back to my Venn diagram at the start, is there's the realism in the plan, and then there's making the entertaining simulation. And they don't necessarily work hand in hand. So this point here, guys, the adaptation, and to these guys who frothed it, I appreciate the comments, but I hope what I've just explained, what I'm trying to get at is that I can't do that every time. It's just not possible. Does that make sense? Let me read the chat here. It's crazy to think people make comments without even watching the video. Yeah, real. I think people also like to mind game out the heroic last stand more. Soldat says that's the offense and defense aspect, but I agree that IP or universe definitely plays a major part. Oh, sorry, I'd read this already because Awesome Evan says, yo, I made it into the PP. Ari says, the Thermopylae video is how I discovered your channel. Absolutely love all your videos. I also really enjoy the digger stereotypes. Appreciate that, man. Welcome. Absolutely love this video. Great work. Thank you. Awesome, Evan. I didn't think about it before, but the Persian adaptation of the video actually gives Xerxes huge benefit of the doubt as a commander. In the movie, he never shows that level of analysis. Yeah, man, you're right. Xerxes was given a lot of leniency, A, in that we didn't kill him, and B, that it was kind of implied that he was getting fed this tactical genius by his advisors. But, that he even took that on board and executed it. Yeah, that's sort of a buff to him, I would suppose. Given how the film happens, he may have just still human waved attack until his army routed. Yeah, plausible. That's kind of what I was going for. I wonder if the Predator video doing so poorly was because the main battle in it wasn't against the Predator itself. Look, yes and no. I realized I couldn't make a video on the Predator and not have the Predator in it. So yes, the focus of the Predator video is on how to raid the camp. But then I do go at the end and pretty much like, okay, so if we did just raid the camp and there was a Predator lurking out the jungle, how do we smoke this fool? So that is in the video. It's just sort of, not a footnote, but yeah, I'll admit it is secondary to the main planning of how to raid the guerrilla camp. But yeah, that's a fair point too. Krieg says, real organizations don't adapt instantly. It makes sense the enemy only changes their approach over the course of days, not to mention the time to learn what happens. Yes, I agree. Very, very good point. The nighttime was critical for the Persians to be able to go away, get their heads together, and figure out what was going on and how to fix it. Soldat says, it's too bad these universe IPs are copyrighted. I would love an ADP or general field manual draw up from you on some of these factions. Man, I've actually I've toyed with that idea, making like a guide, because I've digital downloads and stuff, like the EA development one is the one I advertised in this video. It's free, to be clear. You can just download that. It's a PDF document. But I do have like paid products as well, digital documents. I've got like a Rifleman's Pocket Guide one. But I toyed with the idea of making a sort of dummies guide to MDMP, military analysis, battle planning. I'd make it as layman as possible. But what I would do differently is, as you said, I would lean into pop culture. I would cite in just storytelling, obviously kind of pictures and all that sort of thing for the copyright reasons you talk about. But I would leverage examples from pop culture in how to explain stuff like center of gravity analysis and critical capability analysis and all this sort of stuff. And I think that would be a fun way for people to be able to absorb that information. So that was actually something I was thinking about doing. You know what? I'm going to do it. Yep, I'm going to do it. Hey, Windwalker, my man. Appreciate the US $5. You're a real G. Even with infinite ammo. Love heart emoji, you, my friend. Thank you, my man. Really appreciate that. 5 schmackos. Man, yeah, super duper, thank you. I have to ask, even with infinite ammo, I have to ask, can Persians come faster than Greeks can kill them? Same problem as Zion, in my opinion. Win, but very close to the end. I don't necessarily think so, mate, because of the terrain. So compared to Zion, where they can tunnel in, and they were tunneling on multiple, they're pretty much creating their own avenues of approach, right? The squids in Zion, because wherever they could just dump one of these diggers through the roof of the docks is a new avenue of approach. Somewhere you have to now reorientate your firepower onto, and thus diffuse or decrease your firepower, like you're talking about. Whereas I don't think it's comparable to Thermopylae because of the terrain. So it's just a matter of, it channelizes them so effectively, canalizes them rather. So I don't necessarily think so. Anchorline says, adapt and overcome is cool, and I think what it boils down to is that you don't represent Op 4 as dum-dums. Adapting is one thing, not throwing in only meat waves is another. Yes, that's a fair take. I think, and I'd like to think that's what I'm trying to do. But you're very right. I think as long as people sense that I'm respecting the Op 4 and I'm giving them some semblance of showing that they're putting up a fight, that they're not just being slaughtered because my plan is perfect and nothing would go wrong. I think people will get that. Only 100 soldiers, X rate of fire, X accuracy equals kills per minute. Density of Persians formation, X dimensions of battlefield, X speed of its Persians coming per minute. That's a cool formula. Yeah, I should do that. Also, question for the Hoover Dam video. Doesn't night vision work off an ambient light? The Hoover Dam interior has minimal windows, so if you turn off the lights, the night vision quality might be piss. Yes, true, but also we have IR illuminators. Both on, some of them are built into the goggles, and mostly the Rangers would be using them on their weapons. As in, it's like it's a torch that's infrared, so you can't see the torch light unless you have night vision on yourself. So that's how you would overcome that problem of not having, what would you call it, any ambient light for image intensification to work, is you would use active image intensification through an IR flood. Boys, does that make sense? I hope I haven't pissed in anyone's cornflakes with everything I just went over with the adaption thing. I appreciate all the love I was getting on that. Like, dudes really, really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed it too. It was a fun battle sim to make. I liked making this epic battle scenario, but particularly just because of the 3-day, 2-night thing, it's not something I can do every video. I don't see a way around it. So yeah, I don't know. Food for thought moving forward, boys. For you guys who are here now in this one, remember this moment as some of these other videos come out, because I think this is going to be, an ongoing conversation. Okay. On that note too, boys, here's just some praise ones. I did get a lot of love on this one. This is probably the most just positive comments I've received on any video, and I super appreciate them all. It is encouraging when we're all bloody humans. You spend a long time making a product. In this case, I edit some silly little videos and make some silly little animations, and it takes a fair bit of my time. So when people compliment that product, it is a nice feeling, to put it in simple terms. So yeah, boys, I appreciate the praise that I got on this one too. Some comments on the screen here saying as much. So yeah, just my thanks back to you guys who are leaving like the love in the comments. I do notice it, and I do really actually value it. It's super encouraging, and it keeps me going. So yeah, thanks to these dudes on the screen. I'll write in the comments just the names: Jackson Kilroy, Kolsegi, Ermini, Ninthi, and Devon Charles. Just some of the many comments I got that were kind on the video. Moving on, boys. Okay, I'm not done yet. Anyone need to go for a toilet break? We've been going a while. I don't. Bloody professional. I went before we started. If I go this slow, though, and I'm drinking at this rate, sipping on my water, then I might need to go at some point. Nah, I'll hold it in. You'll bloody sit there until it's filling up to your eyeballs. So here's some other quotes, comments. We'll get into some of the miscellaneous / silly / fun ones. And this is kind of what I've been most looking forward to, because it's always obviously funny to read, funny comments than comments of people slagging off your work. Not to say that the previous comments were slagging off my work, but there are some in the videos that do. Nightstalker160 says the timing is crazy, and I assume he's referring to the current geopolitical situation in the Middle East. Life, death, taxes, and war in the Middle East, right? Am I right, boys? Yeah, look, obviously you can go back and see that I've been having planning room live streams for this video for a long time. This was not made to coincide with the US bombing campaign of Iran. And with that being said, I don't really see... There was one dude who was so mad. It was... I was going to put the comment up and just go to town, but it was a bit deranged, and it was so deranged I thought it was bait, so I didn't end up cropping it. But was very, very upset that I dared release this video, because it was so insensitive to the Iranians at the moment, and that I would dehumanize them and blah blah blah. And I was like, man, this is unhinged. So long story short, guys, I don't think there's anything inappropriate about this video coming out given the current geopolitical situation, because I'm referring to the film 300 and the hyper stylized and hyper fictionalized work that is Zack Snyder's rendition of the ancient Battle of Thermopylae, which was ancient Greeks versus ancient Persians. And I'll secondly add that if you look at, I don't know, the Persians in 300 and find some linkage to modern day Iranians, I think the problematic one is you. It ain't me. So, yeah. I'm not sure if that's what Night Stalker... I only said that because there's a chance that that's what Night Stalker was insinuating as well, that perhaps this was untimely release or that it was inappropriate, but I just disagree, boys. If you do think it's insensitive, maybe, look, I'm not going to argue with you, but I simply disagree. So yeah, but again, I didn't release this on purpose or make this on purpose because of the conflict in Iran. I've been working on this video for months, as many of you will know, and that's pretty much that. Chat GPT rage bait. Yeah, it could have been. You know, I thought it might have been AI, but it had a few weird syntaxes in it. Made it look like a foreign, not someone who's a native English speaker. I'll put it that way. How exactly does Greek modern units compare to the Middle East events? Well, Persians being, long lost historical predecessor to Iranians. That was the insinuation, that it was insensitive for that reason. Leon Peters says, "No, it makes sense to me. Some of the time it's about the fun, not the realism." To be honest, I think if you get 1,000 comments on realism versus entertainment balance, you'll get 1,500 opinions on them. Yeah, true. So Windwalker's comments on infrared. Yep, I won't read that again. There's always going to be someone looking to be offended. Yeah, correct, man. I don't really, to be honest, I don't engage in like comment section wars. I'd used to get in there and bloody go down swinging. But I simply stopped when I realized that the people who are leaving like just obvious troll comments, right? There's obvious troll comments. There's criticism comments, like some of the ones in this video. That's fair enough. That's fine. Those don't wind me up. But there's the obvious troll comments that I'd get in and have a bit of a joust with. It's just a waste of time. B, some of the comments where maybe I used to think that they were putting forward a case sincerely. And then what would invariably happen was there'd be some trollish criticism. I would explain or counter it, and they would immediately shift the goalposts and just continue to talk shit in the chat. So I was like, okay, well, this is a waste of my time. That's not productive. And yeah, the third point and tied to that is no one's ever had their mind changed in the comment section of a YouTube video. So not going to start trying to do that now. The names of Orion comes from the OK Gold Persian word Aryan from an old version. Okay, here we go. We're on the history lesson in the chat now on Iran. Alien. I'm not going to get into this. With similar meanings also appearing in born too late to deploy to the Middle East, born classic, this one. Born too early to deploy to the Middle East, born just in time to deploy to the Middle East. Back to the sandbox we go. The word Persia comes from classical practice. Okay, the slowed Macarena edits have taken souls. Fucking gold comment. Weren't they Desert Storm though? The Macarena edits, like 1991, Gulf War. I didn't know they were making Iran Macarena edits. Those are crazy. You know what else is crazy at this moment? These edits, speaking of slowed, all the John Kiriakou edits. Have you guys seen those? John Kiriakou, the CIA whistleblower guy. I love listening to him on podcasts. He's so well spoken. He's such a great storyteller. But all the John Kiriakou edits are fucking hilarious, man. And I'd seen a bunch of his podcasts. Like I don't listen or watch a lot of podcasts, but I'll have them on sometimes on the drive to work. And I was listening to just some of the John Kiriakou stuff. And then when I started seeing the edits, they're funny as fuck. And then I saw he's got a YouTube channel now, I think. He had like a Q&A, a live stream a few weeks back. And he was like, so my success on it's blown up in the last week because there's people making edits of me. And he was like trying to explain that TikTok are now making edits of him. Like, he's a bemused old boomer. So fucking very funny. Bring out the hummus. Oh man, we're getting Kiriakou coded. If you haven't, I'm gonna type it in. Here we go. If you haven't done so, John Kiriakou. I just typed it in the chat. Treat yourself. After we're done here, get in YouTube, type in John Kiriakou. Listen to some of his actual stories and podcasts because he has an incredible story as well. Obviously, he's a CIA guy. And his whole case with him being a whistleblower and all this, that's incredible. But then now the edits on him are just this slowed down, sped up, where it's him telling some dramatic story, and all the TikTokers do is they slow it down so he talks like this. And you should kill him and shove hummus up his ass. Fucking incredible. It's some of the funniest stuff going around at the moment. Praise be to John Kiriakou. 61 missiles on a janitor. He's an American treasure. Oh, fuck. I'm dying, boys. Yeah, check it out. I've actually got tears streaming down my face. It's so fucking funny, man. John Kiriakou, watch it. I'm going to move on. Otherwise, I'll just start yapping about John Boy the whole time. CSRC, can we get a battle of Thermopylae? Sorry, your comment just popped up at the bottom of the screen as I happened to glance over, so I'm reading it. Can we get a battle of Thermopylae, but it's a mix of Ukrainian units? Honestly, no, probably not, bro. I'm not going to redo Thermopylae, noting I've just done it. And as I was saying to the other dude before, I like to use a country's units in a place where it's appropriate to do so, contextual to the battle, right? So, yeah, you could argue Australians have no place at Helm's Deep. Fair enough, but that was my first one of these. But, I used Norwegians in Hoth because snow. I used Greeks in Thermopylae because, well, Greeks. I used Marines in Starship Troopers because an expeditionary naval fleet deployed amphibious force who do ship to objective maneuver and, have similar levels of training and aggression, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So honestly, no, to answer your question, but I'm not saying I don't want to do Ukrainians. If I can slot the Ukrainians into a battle somewhere, I certainly will. Someone, I think, suggested where the Ukrainians could come in is if I redo Battle of Zion, which I only did as tactically speaking. I didn't do a tactical analysis on Zion. And obviously then you need an anti-air capable force. And, there's a case to be made that the Ukrainians are probably the most experienced anti-air military going around at the moment. So, yeah, that might be an option for them as an example. It's not fucking chill out, boys. There's too much John in the chat. John Kiriakou is all I see when I look in the chat now, and I'm gonna get sidetracked. Dan Ban, imagine drowning from waterboarding just to get resuscitated to continue getting waterboarded. To be fair, use Norwegians in Hoth, yeah. World War II Battle of Kursk, but it's modern Ukraine. Yeah, I'm avoiding historical battles for the most part. Modern historical battles. Like the Ukrainians have some sick tech. Marines and Starship Troopers because jarheads. Yeah, that too. As a Danish person, I think it could be cool if the... What is that? Are you casting spells? Livgarde Husa Regimentet. Livgarde Husa Regimentet. Could be used, or maybe the... Okay, well, this is like Frogman Corps, but in Danish, this is Frøgmanns Korpset, or Jägerkorpset. Jaeger Frogman Corps, Hunter Corps. Yeah, man, it's like Danish SF units, right? CSRC just gave up his firstborn to Frederick. I'm speaking Elvish, boys. Look at me go. I'm speaking Danish. Oh, fuck, I'm crying, man. Sorry, I got sidetracked with that John Kiriakou. I can't stop. I'm trying to when you're in class and you're in that moment where you shouldn't be laughing, so it makes you want to laugh more. That's the kind of buzz I've got going on at the moment, and it's fucking with me. Ooh, yeah, man, Frederick, sorry. To answer in short, I'm not against doing the Danes. If I can find a relevant battle to slot them in, I'm happy to give it to you, man. Your pronunciation amuses me. That's the most Danish reply you could have said to that as well. What was that battle during The Force Awakens that involved Maz's castle? The Ukrainians would be fucking awesome there. Force Awakens. Oh man, yuck. New Star Wars movie. Was that I don't remember that one. Maz's castle. Is that little gremlin with the goggles? Okay, I'm gonna move on. I'm getting back to the PowerPoint here, boys. Okay, Bassett Green says 2645. Recce is the most ADF coded thing I've ever heard. So, jest comment here. The thing being, we say Recce for reconnaissance, right? And it got me thinking. The curious case of reconnaissance, as you can see on the screen here. This is in my experience. So, I think overwhelmingly Americans in the chat right now. Might be a few Kiwis as well, though. A few Brits. So chirp up if you got things to contribute. But this was my observation from my time in on how reconnaissance is abbreviated across the AUKUS sphere. UK and New Zealand are weirdly aligned in language and a lot of other stuff too. Like Kiwis and UK are in a lot of ways more aligned than... Sorry, the Kiwis are more aligned with the UK in a lot of ways more so than they are with us Aussies, which is... It's not strange. I think it's a cultural thing of how sort of their military developed compared to how our military developed, nor is that a slight either. But UK and the Poms, to my observations, use Recce as both the noun and the verb. And the example is here like, oh, did you hear about Smithy? He got posted to Recce platoon. As in, they call the platoon, the organization, recce platoon. But they would also say, hey, let's go do a recce as a verb. We're on a mission. Oh, what's up that path? I don't know. Let's go do a recce, or let's go recce it. I think the Poms and the New Zealand and the Kiwis say it like this. Australia, my experience, and if this is different, if you're in the chat and you're an Aussie digger and you're disagreeing with me, I'm going to put it to you that it's because it's been corrupted by the fucking Poms and the laterals. But from my observations and my experience, this was always how we did it in the Australian military. Recon was the noun, as in Smithy got posted to recon platoon. Robbo's in, where is Robbo? Oh, no, he's in recon next year. But recce is the verb, as in we're going to go recce that creek line. So we mix both. And then my observations in the Americans, and I'll caveat this with that I have seen it's changing. Americans, military dudes again that I've experienced, both noun and verb is recon. As in, he's a recon platoon guy. They're a recon element. Versus, say, the Brits would say that's a recce element. And the Americans also verb recon. So like, hey, I'm going to go do a little recon. Hey, let's go recon that creek. I have noticed, though, there's like recce is creeping into the American lexicon. So I'm not sure, like chicken and egg, who's stealing from who here. But I would suspect that the Americans are being corrupted by either the Australians or the Brits in verbing, in nouning recce. Because I see like the Americans like, man, I will say, you guys have too many names for ARs. We don't need 20 different acronym types for 20 different variants of AR, like GPR, general purpose rifle. Man, how about just rifle? GPR, SPR, SPR, and now recce rifles. So again, that's the example I give that I've seen recce creeping into American lexicon. And I know some of you boys in the chat are lawful firearm owners, so you can probably speak to this as well. But that's my observation. What are you boys saying? Yeah, the orange one with the goggles. Star Wars, little gremlin. Is the American Civil War too recent? I would love to see the British versus 3 Dodge Chargers. No, it's not too recent. That's what we're doing. The idea I have for the game is that you can play through scenarios from your videos on the side, but then you can mix and match. You could do the Marines versus 80 on Helm's Deep. Man, sorry, this is the email. I'm going to reply to your email, but straight off rip, the biggest problem you're going to have is copyright and intellectual property. I don't know how you're planning on getting around using anything Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, or Starship Troopers even related in this game. Like, unless it's just like a fun project, you're doing it for free or whatever. But if you're trying to publish this and make some money off it in the long run, I don't know how you're going to get around the copyright aspect. That was going to be sort of the crux of my email to reply to you. Yes, Canada use both. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what the Canadians I don't have as much experience with, so I can't speak to them. Yes, Canada use both recce and recon, but recon is more likely to be a noun. Oh, okay. So kind of like Australia in Canada. Mutt here. Most Americans who have an idea of military vocabulary understand recce, but just don't use it. But use recon, it's drilled in at birth, essentially. I'm doing for free. Bro, you don't understand, we need another weapon subcategory fad for the military tactical influence operator for another 6 months for a year. Yeah, fair. Look, I'm not giving you guys any grief because ultimately you guys can actually own this cool kit and me, a crap Australian, can't. So power to you boys. Make as many acronyms for all the different rifle types, AR types you want. But yeah, personally, I do think it's like, I think there's too many. There's too many. Okay, next on, boys, slide. Someone said this earlier. Was this the dude who said it in the chat? Someone in the chat made this exact comment, and here's the comment in the comments. F4S says, no shit, no duff, there I was, Dilios at the Mad Cow, circa 480 BC. Mad Cow is a hive of scum and villainy in one of the great garrison towns in North Queensland, Australia, of Townsville. Mad Cow is a place of disrepute. Go follow him on Instagram. Great place. Fun pub club. I don't know if you'd call it a nightclub, but it's like just the most notorious, probably, soldier bar in, I would say, all of Australia. I think that's a fair statement to make. Every military town has their like notorious pubs. I think Mad Cow is probably the most notorious in all of Australia, and there's probably some Mera bros in the chat who might have gone through a Murph D rotation or something like this, because there's always a bunch of Marines who know about Mad Cow as well. Love talking to you in the chat here, by the way. No worries, Ari, carry on. I appreciate you being here, my man. Sorry, this has been asked, but are you considering doing the June video? Yes, my man. June is on the short list. To be fair, SBR's short barrel rifle is a legal thing in the USA. Yeah, I do know that. I do get that SBR is like a legal thing for you guys, which I do think is insane. And I also think the whole insane thing with like pistol versus SBR. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Yeah, but you guys got to watch out. Like, you have the greatest thing in the world. You guys got to keep this like locked in. The erosions of your liberties with these little like death by 1,000 cuts things. Like, this is a pistol, but it's not a. It's an AR without a stock. Or nuts, boys, nuts. Cool. Thanks for reading my comments and answering. No worries, Frederick. Appreciate you being here all the way from Denmark. I was actually in Copenhagen not too long ago. That's one of the places I had to disappear to. Lovely city. I very much enjoyed. It was during that cold snap a month or two ago when it was freezing and there was snow everywhere. But beautiful city. Beautiful city. I was speaking to a few Danish military dudes. Just that I wouldn't say I know them. I haven't met them in person, but just, dudes through Instagram, through this CSRC project that I yarn with. And they gave me a few recommendations on stuff to get out and do. And it was a good place. Next slide here, boys. This will answer some of you were talking about behind the scenes stuff. I've got another one. Alejandro Vega says, now, why did I get worried for some blue dots made on MS Paint? Goated male-driven content. Thank you. Not Stalin says, I got to ask, how do you run your simulations? So I assume his question is tech. That's what I assume Stalin's asking. He might be asking about how do I come up with the idea, but I'm choosing to answer this as tech. And as to Alejandro's comment, MS Paint, PowerPoint, thank you very much. So this next slide here, boys, this is what goes on behind the scenes. This is one of the extracts. I just sucked. I almost said sucked off. Pause. I just copy pasted one of these slides from the other one and put it here. And this is what it looks like with no background or any of that. And this is all just the assets. Can I, what happens if I exit this reader view for a second? Maybe you guys don't want to see. I'm not actually sure. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Oh, you bastard. Okay. Let me check if you can see that in the chat. So yeah, I do all my animations here in PowerPoint. Can you guys still see that? Am I dragging this around and moving it off the screen? No, we're good. So yeah, each one of these little horses is, well, a little horse. And every slide I drag them and I move them a little bit. And I also learned the hard way that if you just do this and drag them, oh, you dog, don't do that. Oh, I've cooked it. Okay, I'm not going to get too fancy because I will crash the computer. If you drag big groups of them, it looks like shit. So you have to do this. And so I'll make a slide and then I'll drag all the little horsies. That horsey disappeared, Control Z. Drag all these horsies up there a little bit. And then I'll say, as the cavalry thunders towards the Greek lines, they let loose with a torrent of machine gun fire. The Persian horses die in droves, mowed down by invisible, pretty cool, huh? I'm doing like an impression of myself. So yeah, I drag these little horsies and then the traces here, these are PowerPoint animations. That's like a little, that's a bar. That's like a line. And I give it some glow and shit. And then when you, so if I make this huge and then I click play, you'll see this dude flying around, going nuts. Look how big that bullet is. So, yeah, that's how I do my animations. To answer that dude's question, how do I run my battle sims? I make them in PowerPoint. All this stuff I just figured out through trial and error. Some of the old school dudes will notice, I'd hope you've noticed, like I make little improvements along the way. Like now I've got little muzzle flash. Extremely fucking annoying to put in, by the way. Again, because of that layering problem. Like there's muzzle flash here. And so this is what I see when I'm trying to move shit around. So when I copy paste, there's no real good way to, like, say I want to get that bullet under there. I've got to drag all this shit out of the way and it takes me ages. And this is to that question before about the claymores. This is what I was talking about when I got to that point and I was like, I do not want to fucking put the claymores back underneath there and mess with this again. So I'm simply not going to. But yeah, as in, this is some behind the scenes stuff for those of you who care. This is how I do my animations in PowerPoint because it's all I know. Could I make better animations in an actual animations program? Yeah, probably. Do I know how to do that? No. So here we are. I'll put it back on our reader view here, boys, back to full screen. Oh, is that full screen for everyone? And then I'll read some comments. Okay. Hey, we can have ARs in Australia. They just have to be pump action load at most 10 rounds. Yeah, pain. Honestly, I would suggest, sorry, Ari says, honestly, if I would suggest a video, which I know would be dog shit algorithm-wise, it's just you doing some research for fun on viewer-suggested militaries that you don't know much about. Man, that honestly, it's kind of what I do in a lot of my streams. So I don't think I'd ever make a video or slap a video together in that way, but I'd stream stuff like that, for sure. Which one? We had 3 snowstorms, Frederick says, in February, one after the other, that shut down a third of our nation's rail networks. Yeah, I don't know. It was in February. I couldn't tell you which one. Buses not driving. Yeah, man, it was cold and snowy. TF is that Star Wars blaster bolts being shot by modern Earth rifles and machine guns. Well, the idea is Buster Scruggs that the fucking traces. Obviously, if I have nothing on screen, you're not going to see any bullets. So Star Wars, you might suggest, but I use these because it simulates traces 4-bit, right? So when a machine gun shoots, this red line here that I'm pointing at, I'll play that again. That's zip, and there's 3 rounds between it. So it's not every tracer is a bullet. There's usually 4-bit, right? So 1 tracer, 3 bullets. 1 tracer, 3 bullets. Or am I retarded? 4 bullets, 1 trace. Sorry, 4 ball, 1 trace. So it's 5 total. 4 ball rounds that you won't see, and then 1 tracer round. Hence the name 4-bit. And why I use the different colors is just to signify the different weapons. So in this case, I've got the red is heavy machine guns, and then I've got the green, I think, was light machine guns in this case. So, yeah, hope that answers your question, smarty pants. Is there a military badge for excellence in PowerPoint? I don't think so. You can probably get a campus qual for it, though. And no, I'm not military. I was deemed medically unfit for... What is this? You speak in Elvish in the chat again. Verne pligs... Get the fuck out of here. That's not a real word. Civil or National Defense Service back in like 2017 due to my asthma autism. Oh, sorry to hear that, bro. And having been intensive care. So, okay. Jason Scram, make separate slides for different layers, copy paste the base layer, and then combine them all in the end so you don't have so much shit piled up on one working slide. Yeah, I do that, obviously. This is just a demo slide to show you like what it kind of looks like without the map and what's going on there. I just picked a random slide. I have template slides where I can copy paste the assets and lay them on in the fashion you're suggesting, but I didn't want to pull up 10 of my template slides of the different animations and the different assets and show that much detail. 1 tracer and 5 usually in NATO. Yeah, thank you. Saint, my man, we need to get you a better setup, lol. Thanks for the 25 schmackos, bro. Appreciate you. Big love heart to that. Super thanks for the dono, man. Yeah, look, I'm I know the donos will go towards a better setup. It's not it's so much that I don't want to like buy Adobe, but it's like, do I want to relearn Premiere Pro or one of these other Flash and expensive editing software, like anything in Adobe Suite or anything? It's like, it's a question of time at this point. Like, how much time do I lose switching my animations from PowerPoint to that? So I think I'm going to stick to PowerPoint for now because I think I'm getting work done with it. If there comes a point where I realize, hey, I need to do this thing and I can't work out how to do it in PowerPoint, I've exhausted every possible trick I have, then that'll probably be the time to switch. But for now, every video, I'm figuring out something new cool that I can still do with PowerPoint. So I'm still getting a bit of juice out of this. But Saint, my man, appreciate you for the $25 dono. Really, genuinely do. Thanks. Andrew Noble, do you have any videos planned where the military force is on the side that is a considerable, where the modern military force is the side that is at a considerable technological disadvantage? And I wouldn't say I have any planned, but I'm certainly not against it. As in, you'd be describing like, that might be modern military force up against Warhammer or something like this. You could argue that Star Wars was that. I did the Hoth battle, and I think it's fair to say the Empire are more technologically advanced than the Norwegians were in that video. In Canada, sometimes the section commander has a mag of just trace to indicate what he wants the rest to shoot at. Yeah, that's classic jungle tricks. Also, thanks for condolences. Sorry, what? Did I give you condolences? Was I not meant to give you condolences? Is that sarcasm? I don't know. Sorry, bro, I'm lost. I apologize if I wasn't meant to do that. If I was, then yes, you're welcome. Hey, your simple animation's not bad, though. Your style, and I like them. Yeah, thank you. So that's another thing I'm kind of sticking to. I'm trying to keep things uniform for that sense of style. It might not be the prettiest thing, but it's becoming almost a brand image, I would hope. As in, you can just glance at one of these videos and say, hey, that's a CSRC battle sim. Or even what I do here with the yellow background text on the slides. I'm sort of, I thought it was, I kind of did it just for the Helm's Deep one because, well, what else do I do? But now I'm sort of like, I don't think it's the prettiest, and it could probably have a much more nicer design, but I think it's almost a brand image at this point. So I'm going to kind of keep a lot of it for that reason too. Nah, fuck Adobe. They're much better software that doesn't cost you that much. Adobe is expensive and needs to have bullshit early cancellation fees. Yeah, Adobe is, it drives me nuts, man, all their subscriptions. 2D Blender is definitely a worthy thing to attempt. Alternatively, though, Adobe is very good. Can you do stuff like this in Blender? Like, I know Blender's good for this dude on Instagram buds with. I say that because I've never met him in real life. Growlor Media, check him out on Instagram. He's a Blender guru. He does models and stuff. Like models, that sounds weird. As in, like, he renders and animates like dudes of like a 75th Ranger Regiment dude, a CAG dude, an SASR dude, this sort of thing. They're amazing. Like, his level of attention to detail is crazy. Big shout out to Growlor. If you don't follow him on Instagram, check him out. Growlor.media, I think it is. But yeah, I thought it was like just for single asset sort of stuff. Can you have like lots and lots of little things on the screen in Blender? 2D Blender? Crass Spectacle says, I wonder how long it would take Medieval Army to realize that fire superiority is a thing to be considered. Let's face it, in a protracted fight with competent leader on the ancient side, there would be a learning curve. Yep. What's this? Waltz News. I mean, for the modern military to be at a disadvantage, you would just need... Okay, I mean... You just need the modern military to be there for like 2 weeks so the modern ammo and batteries run out. Yeah, true. No sarcasm. I meant to thank you. Just wasn't sure about spelling or if I picked the right term to describe. Okay. Yeah, no, my bad, bro. What next battle will you do next? I'm not sure. Hoping you guys can help me out. Crass Spectacle. That's actually a cool idea. Make CSRC try to use an outdated army against a modern force where he's an advisor who know everything about the opponent's capabilities. I've got a funny you guys mention this because I do have something like that coming up. It's crazy, but I think maybe you'll dig it. Blender is great for 3D stuff and then its main focus, but there are a whole option for 2D that you can use to be able to get something very similar. Oh, true. Okay. Okay. No more chat. Back to the slides, boys. Whoever said gate before, and I lunged at you in the chat. Ooh, you bastard. This is why. XCW says, there's an anime called Gate. One of the episodes in the middle of the season has an attack helicopter gun down grunts. Bert439 says, just watch Gate. North29th says, have you ever watched Gate? Have you ever watched Gate? Dragon Spawn says, for an animated version of this, see the anime Gate. More or less happens here. PTSD for the non-modern forces. You know what? Gate is fucking PTSD for me. How about that? How's that grab you? What do you think about that? Because if I had a cent for every comment about Gate, I would have a lot of sense. I've never seen Gate. I don't watch that much anime. Point in fact, I'd never even heard of Gate until I did my Helm's Deep video. And Jesus Christ Almighty, the amount of Gate comments on that video, I now resent Gate. I never want to watch Gate. I'm never going to watch Gate. And when people talk about Gate, it triggers my Gate traumatic response. My neurodivergence aversion to Gate, the animu, instantly fires up like a bad case of Agent Orange poisoning for a Vietnam veteran. I hate Gate. I've never seen it, and I never will see it. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you. But in all seriousness, for the dude who brought Gate up before, yeah, I like had a crack at you in jest. But yeah, I've never seen it. It winds me up. I don't want to see it. I get it. It's a thing about the Japanese military fighting ancient dudes. Yep, I know about it. Please stop commenting it or recommending that I watch it. Thank you for your recommendations. Yeah, ha, these fucking nerds. Hey, CSRC, have you seen Gate? How do I fucking ban people? How do I fucking ban cunts? What happens when I click your name? Channel activity, go to channel, pin message, report, remove, put user in timeout. I can put people in timeout. Yellow Prussia, HHC8J. Your days are fucking numbered, my man. Brian Magnum says, I'm on instant on your timeout button, which I didn't know was a thing until now. Extremely glad to hear you say you don't watch anime. GTSD, if you will, shut the gate. Yellow Prussia says, without the JSDF combat scenes, it's pretty shit anime. I literally just watch all the battle scene clips on YouTube, then move on. Yeah, man, it seems like I didn't realize that was. I thought the whole thing was just battle scenes, but it's the rest of it's all weird anime shit as well. Make it have more sense than all the people who post about Gate. The best way to engage with the not sorrowfully. No, I won't actually time out you. It's just like I'm jesting my disdain for Gate to the box with the. At least they got the actual JG SDF to help with the sound recordings and the Type 74 engine and cannon sounds, and the Type 87 SPAA cannon sounds are real recordings. That's cool attention to detail. There's a little known live action show about medieval PTSD called Game of Thrones. You might want to check that out instead of Gate. That's a good one. Who's that? James Scramble. Chat's good today, boys. Thanks for playing along. I've actually been like chuckling and cry laughing at times. So it's been a fun one. It's been a fun one. Normally these public ones, like they get a bit more razzle dazzle than obviously, because the members ones are usually smaller, right? Because obviously there's less members and they're private and they're locked down. The members ones have like, there's almost feeling like professionalism, like the members dudes are like helping me type shit and like helping me like giving tips. But like these public ones get a bit fruitier. This one's been good though. Normally there's like on previously I'd say, I wouldn't say trolly comments, but kind of I don't know. How would you describe it? Like just like there's always yapping, nothing wrong with yapping, but I'll put it this way, I've not laughed this much in a live stream until this one. So yeah, thanks for playing along. Slide, boys. Back to the presentation. NPCN. For April's Fool Day, do a video about how Modern Force would defend Lacusti in Monster Girl Encyclopedia. Do it or no balls. Speaking of Gate. So this fucking guy, again, I don't watch anime. Let me preface this slide with that. So this comment made me laugh because I just saw the do it or no balls. That's what caught my attention. I was like, what the fuck is this? Lacusti in Monster Girl Encyclopedia. So being me, I right click, or I highlight select, right click, search Google for, and get this. What the fuck is this guy's problem? What is this shit? What's he sending me onto? I can't even look this up. Is that haram? Fuck you, man. NPCN. NPC by name and nature. This guy. So anyway, I don't know what this is, but seemingly Lacusti Monster Girl Encyclopedia is some degenerate anime pornography thing because I can't even look it up on Google. But yeah, this was funny because do it or no balls caught my attention. And then Googling this, well, yeah, now we got what's the Django Unchained line? You had my attention, now you have my you had my curiosity, now you got my attention, you motherfucker. But no, I'm not going to do that. But this was just funny. I thought I'd share this because, like, my reaction when I go to Google what this dude's recommending and I can't even look it up because it's that cooked. Fuck you, man. Brian, see, this is why no anime. Yeah. Weeb activities, says Tommy Tomatoes. A Game of Thrones videos still relevant enough to get swept up by the algorithm. Could make a good next video for sure. Yeah, Winterfell is on the list. Winterfell is one I'm excited for, particularly because it's zombies. They're not real zombies, but you get what I mean. They're not like a functioning military. So looking forward to Winterfell. Winterfell is on the list. Do it or no balls. Bro was going to make you look at balls. What the fuck? Why? Actually, I don't even want to know, bro. I don't even want to know what this anime is about that makes you say that it's going to end up with me looking at balls. When I turn 18, I'm moving to Japan, says Dan Man. You degenerate little sickos need to get away from your fucking Monster Girl Encyclopedia. Go hang out with NPC DD8HG and look at your fucking Monster Girl Lacusti Castle or whatever. You sick freaks. Andrew Noble, thanks for the $7.99. I think it's $8. Is that Australian? Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Been watching your video since your iceberg video, and you definitely deserve a sub and a beer on me. Very entertaining, relatable, as informative. Hey, man, thanks. Again, you are like my target audience, diggers, and I'm glad to hear from diggers in the chat. I don't forget where I come from, And yeah, man, appreciate that. Thanks very much for the dono. I mean, there's always H-Doom if that's what you're after. I keep trying to come up with a good boarding action sequence to come up blank. Sorry, I'm reading chat now. Enshuri. Oh, here you're back. Sorry, you're the guy I jumped at. Enshuriku. People probably mention that so much because there isn't a lot of media or the genre. Okay. Brother. Oh, sorry, this is Ari talking about your game. I've just searched it. Yeah, it's a really degenerated thing, says Zeno. All right, I'll leave it to you boys to describe. Or, sorry, leave it to you boys to search because I'm not searching any further. Moving on to the next comment here, guys. 3850. I didn't know Xerxes was Canadian. Why is Xerxes Canadian? Xerxes talking like a South Park Canadian. This makes me laugh because I like this style of animation. One, because it's easy and I can just flap their heads around. Two, I love South Park, so it's very intentional. Big fan of South Park, have been for a long time. I'm not caught up in the recent seasons. I'm probably like 5 seasons behind at this point. But up until about, I don't know, what was maybe the Tegrity Farms start, whatever season that was. It was when I was up to it. But then, like, I think the mid seasons of South Park were the best anyway. So yeah, I just love this style of animation with the flappy heads and Xerxes doing his like, hey, no, you're funny, you quit my face. Like the Canadian flappy thing cracks me up, even when I'm just animating it. So yeah, that's why I do it. 2 reasons. It's simple. You just got to crop Xerxes' head into 2, right? So I just have 2 copies of Xerxes' face there, and then I'm just keyframe animating his head like, nah, why did you not tell me about the Greeks have guns, buddy? And it makes me fucking laugh because I think it's goofy. So yeah, that's why the Canadian South Park style animation. To anyone who was sincerely wondering about that. Raven Dave says, 300 video on the infographics show YouTube channel that you mentioned is good for grunts to watch because it's a cartoon. Lol. Also, please don't draw on that. Sent me. Ural guy, like Russian. No, I'm reading it backwards. Ulragi. Can you please not draw on that? Got a chuckle out of me, lol. Yeah, so I'm like bringing up my own joke here, which is probably tasteless. But why I wanted to bring this up, because when I'm doing this, so this is that scene from the animation when I have Ephialtes draw on the map. And again, at risk of like, hey, remember that joke I told that time that was heaps fucking funny? Here's me bringing it up again. I wanted to behind the scenes this, because why this was so dumb and so funny to me is because when I was animating this part here, and I had the idea of this scene, it was going to be like Ephialtes draws on Xerxes' map, and then I was going to have those back and forth shots of like Xerxes and Ephialtes staring at each other in bemusement, and then I suppose the pause or the joke at work is that what the fuck is Xerxes going to say? What's he thinking? And then him just going, can you not draw on my map? And why it ended up even being a joke is because I got to this point of the animation and I was like, Ephialtes is going to draw on the map. He's going to say like, hey, look, Xerxes, you can go around the mountains and flank them. I found this path. And then I was starting to search for like, I was about to start Googling and I was like, I've got to give him a pen. And then I was like, hang on, this is like ancient Greece. What the fuck would he be drawn with? And then I opened Google and I was about to type in like, what did ancient Persians write and draw with? And I was just like, fuck this. This is nuts. I'm not like, what did they use? Fucking feathers and quills or charcoal? I don't know. I don't care. This is too much. The cunt can have a red Sharpie. So that was how we ended up with the red Sharpie. If you ended up why this scene went the way it did, is because I started Googling and researching this and just, this was like a diminishing returns thing. I just immediately went, he's getting the fucking permanent marker from the modern age. That's done. So anyway, this is why this was doubly fun to me, like beyond the surface level work of the joke itself, and why I had so much fun animating this one. Okay, comments real quick. Okay. Dan Ban, I'll get you an anime girl body pillow if you want CSRC. You don't gotta be shy, mate. I'll pass, mate, but it's a very very kind offer. Spark, why no drones? Because they make for boring battle sims, especially like how we see in Ukraine. They're overpowered in the sense of a fun video because Xerxes would just immediately get droned. Also, why never take the high ground as an overview position? I didn't want to dislocate troops dismounted at risk of them being pushed off that position, and also then they don't have enfilade frontal fire. They have less effective enfilade, especially if they're up in the mountains and then the down on the ground. If you want that for surveillance, we had drones doing that. You bloody shitting up the chat with these serious, sincere questions, and everyone else is trying to make me laugh about anime. But nah, man. Nah, fair questions. Yellow Prussia, new spin-off, North Park, just White House footage. Have you looked into 40 Warhammer 40k for any future videos. Now we talked about this earlier in the stream. Sort of no, but there will be one eventually. I just have to research it. Actually, they didn't have red Sharpies. Sharpie fell out of a pack in the first phase. Simple. There you go. He found it. He rattled off one of the Polarises. Green Crayola. One of the troops dropped it and he picked it up. Master of Espionage. If you ever set up a PO box, all you'll get is Gate Blu-rays and anime pillows. Is fuck off? Do people do that? As in, like, set up PO boxes? He said while sipping on water. That is funny and fun and weird. As we transition the slide to Effie Alty's mong feral festy face, just close cropped on the screen. Jump scare of this cretinous, gremlin, ugly, mong-faced cunt. YouTubers do it all the time. You didn't mention it, James Scrabble. You didn't mention the video whether the modern troops had real body armor or if they had to be ripped and bare-chested like the real 300 Spartans. See, I thought you were going to go with the War Machine reference there and tie that into Temu body armor or like fake plates. But they could be bare-chested and oiled up. YouTubers do it all the time. Idea where you do Jurassic World and do unboxing videos. Yeah, dude, a lot of popular content creators set up PO boxes for free shit with the Spartans. Would the Spartans have won if they had JBL speakers? Face reveal. Sometimes actual shit. No, face reveal. Foot reveal if you play your cards right. Saint Onosan, sometimes illegal firearms. Yeah, right. PO boxes. They do that. Set up PO boxes. Well, now that I'm told I'm going to get nothing but Gate DVDs, that would actually be that would be annoying but also hilarious because that would make for a fun video. I just picture this video where I'm just opening or dumping like this giant pile of DVDs like onto the bed. And it's one of those things, like the joke is that I hate it, but by bringing up that I hate it, people do it more. So it's like this self-eating snake of awful circumstances that ends up me getting this degenerate animu, whatever the hell, castle adventure girl or whatever dude was talking about before is. Care package video. North African Hilux at Cano. Okay. I think we're wrapping up here, boys. We're wrapping up. Whenever I get to this wrap-up slide, the chat viewers just like drop. Everyone runs to the hills. But here's what I've got on my short list. So there's been a few questions in this stream of this stuff, and I've been saying yep at the end, and here we are. So for those of you who hang around, congratulations. For those of you who've been here from the start of the stream, you're absolutely mad. I love your dedication to the cause, and I hope you've been having as much fun with this as I have. This has been sick. But here's what I've got going on. This isn't my full list. I'm not bloody going to give away all of my secrets because the full list I've got actually has taken a long time to curate, right? So these are some of the other things, some common suggestions I get. But I've got other stuff that I'm keeping up my sleeve. I'm not bloody giving everything out there for fucking YouTube to steal. Giving everything out for the AI slop, entirely procedurally generated battle v battle channels to steal. I fucking seen yous. I seen yous and your white thumbnails with your fucking everything fake robot voice narration. I see what you've got going on. So I'm not bloody going to give everything out there. But anyway, this is what some of the ideas that have been coming at me. Come at me, brah. Or that I've come up with. Have a look at what's on the screen. I'm not going to read them all out. But the ones I wanted to draw your attention to is down the bottom here. This was something I just thought about in the last couple of days. I was actually spitballing with the ball and chain. She came up with this, which I was initially scoffed off as absurd, but then went, you know what, that's so dumb that it actually might be really good. Because she was talking about, she's like, what about that movie we watched where the CIA guys in Libya? Why don't you do that, but then have like the orcs defending it? I was like, have the orcs defend the CIA annex in Benghazi. That's ridiculous. And sneered initially, but then I went, hang on, wait a minute. That's actually fucking sick. So this is where I'm kind of talking about. I used to always say, no, I'm never going to do real stuff. I'm never going to do real world things out of, respect and sensitivity. We're talking about dudes who in, these cases are dead as of that, not that long ago, right? So me coming in and just getting silly with it could be a bit insensitive. But this is an examples an example of a couple. I'm not saying I'm going to do these. I think, Osama bin Laden raid you could probably get away with pretty easily. I'm not going to offend any, or I don't care if I offend any Osama bin Laden fans, for example. So redo like Operation Neptune Spear, the raid to kill Osama bin Laden, but with say the Bad Batch from Star Wars, or the what's Vader's Fist? Is that 501st? Or a company from the 501st or something like this. Stuff like this. You get what I mean? What do you guys think? Special Operations Force, SOF. Sorry, yeah, I couldn't think of an example when I typed this up. So Star Wars SOF, Star Wars SF, Imperial SF. Could be Rebel SF. I think Imperial would probably be more apt for taking out Osama bin Laden though. What do you boys reckon? Let me get to the chat here. Now that I've got this up on the screen, I want to see what you guys have got to say, because I'm genuinely keen on some feedback here. Because I'm not lying to you when I say I don't have a locked in next video yet. Battle of Hogwarts discourse is going to be insane. Yeah, man. I'm not dreading the comment section for that as much. Like, I know the Harry Potter fans are passionate as well, so no doubt that algorithm will draw a lot of them to that screeching and foaming with butterbeer at the mouth. But I don't fear them. Andrew Noble, between you and Perrin, the Australian Defence Analysis PowerPoint videos are weird but oddly satisfying niche, my kind of autism. Oh, thanks for that, man. Yeah, Perrin, the goat of Australian mill power posting. I can't even talk. PowerPoint posting YouTube. Those bottom ideas are peak, do them. My chances are gone. Get your head down. Make sure you got a Subway Surfers. Make sure you got a Subway Surfers clip playing in the next video so people watch the whole video before commenting on dumb shit. Yeah, maybe that's where I went wrong. I didn't have half of a game playing in the background and like giant I don't have subtitles like popping up on the screen like to hold the attention of like the uber young Zoomers who've got TikTok brain rot. That's actually kind of funny. What soft means, I read it already. Well, maybe not do things where people are still alive, but would likely watch the video. Special Operations Force. Some Libyans getting speared by Urukai phalanx is crazy. Yeah, so why this bottom one? Defend Benghazi with Urukai. And again, I'm not saying I'll do Benghazi, but at first when I was like, that's goofy as hell. But then one of you dudes mentioned it earlier, where like, I think you said this scenario and then pretend you're like an advisor there to them. I would simply make it that I am the Urukai commander, right? That's like, I wouldn't, do that in the video. Like, it's not going to be me, CSRC man, standing there with CSRC logo as a character in the video. Like, when I do the battle plan, I will do it from the perspective of the Urukai commander. Better way to phrase what I was trying to say. So yeah, you'd be thinking about the battle as we know it. We're defending this compound. You'd have to go through and list all our capabilities. So we'd do this analysis of our friendly force, the Urukai. What do we have? We have archers and we have crossbowmen. They can shoot this far. We have our pikemen. We have our infantry, heavy infantry, swordmen. We have our explosives. What can we do with these? Are we going to set up kind of landmines? But then, they're primitive in their detonation, right? So how are we going to detonate these explosives and use them in a defensive way? Do we have to dispatch our suicide or Urukai to detonate them as the Libyan rebels are attacking it? There's heaps of crazy stuff you could do with this sort of thing. So again, don't take away from this, I'm going to defend Benghazi with Urukai. I want you guys to take away from this the idea of that, and if you can come up with something similar. Does that make sense? Sorry, back to the chat here. ARC troopers for OBL. Yeah, true. That's a good one. Send Darth Vader to clear the building. The Maduro raid, but 501st does it. That's fun. ISB TAC team from the Mandalorian would go hard. The only trouble about the Maduro raid is so fresh. There's not a lot of info out there on it. Like, I bet you if I wanted to do the Osama bin Laden raid, I could find a compound layout, floor by floor, which is probably what I'd need to make the battle maps for that one as well. What is Dragon Ambush? Oh, sorry, on the screen. Game of Thrones Dragon Ambush. I don't know what it's. This is my shorthand. It's the scene from Game of Thrones when the Dothraki attack the Lannister convoy, and there's Jaime and Bronn, I think, are there, and then the dragons come and wipe out the convoy. That's one I thought of, like maybe doing a counter ambush kind of thing to that. I don't know what that scene's called or what that episode or what that battle's called, but that's how I describe it. Last two are pretty lit. Okay, a few votes for these last ones, which I'd call like the fusion approach. the thing is, why I was thinking this too is because, like I was saying earlier in the stream for the guys who were here, I should be doing an offensive video next. That's what my promised routine is. I do a defensive one, an offensive one, a defensive one, an offensive one. But I'm kind of dreading doing another offensive one. And because the planned defensive ones I did have just turned out to be way more complicated from a design perspective than I thought. And those two were, I'm not sure if they're on the screen, Avatar. So the one tree of souls or whatever from the first Avatar film, or alternately attacking Hell's Gate, which is the RDA base in Avatar. I was going to do offensive ones on these. Immediately ran into problems on just the design of the map. How do you make a map when everything's just covered in vegetation? The map's just going to look green and it's going to have a giant tree. And then I'd have to make another map showing like the ground of the jungle, a sub-canopy map. So I was like, this sucks. And then the other idea similar was Endor, like doing an offensive operation on Endor, replace the rebels with a modern military force. Similar deal. It's a design challenge. And Endor's like so spread out. There's like the speeder chase. You know, the rebels insert miles away from the shield generator, it seems. So there's like just visual design challenges, those two, that kind of ground me to a halt. That's kind of why I'm more keen on some of these other ideas, because they're going to be easier to design, easier to present on a map, particularly say this Benghazi one, which is why this one really appeals to me. But I don't want to do that because it's, look, I think I could do it tastefully and not be insensitive to the dudes that were there and obviously like fought to the death, or were killed in action, but still, and you know, the guys who survived it. But still, it's something as a rule I think I'm safe avoiding for now. Let me get back to the chat. ISB TAC team from the Mandalorian would go hard. Yeah, nice. Last two are okay, Reddit. I'd like to put a vote for doing something with 10th Light Horse. I'll scroll down too far. Maybe lean World War II battles or like weird Cold War battle plans over real recent events. Yeah, not bad ideas, but then again too, I am trying to be YouTube man here, so I do need a bit of, maybe not virality, but ideally I'm doing battles that people are familiar with. So I don't want to get too obscure. I've got to get picked up in the algo, right, man? The algo drives my life. Fun fact, chemical reactions and mechanical devices work fine around magic in Hogwarts. I know you've been hesitant to do aliens, but maybe with the Earth Force being better prepared for the Xenos, like they actually listen to Ripley's story and take the situation more seriously. Yeah, man, Evan, sorry, that comment from awesome Evan. Similarly, as you say, yes, I have been reluctant to do aliens, and I've spoken about this before, and that's again due to a design challenge. How do I lay out LV-426, as in the colony from Aliens, the second Alien film, on a battle map, and particularly how do I do the subterranean clearance on a battle map? It's really difficult, and it would be similar to the Fallout one, except I think worse, because like what's the goal? Is it to wipe out all the aliens? It's going to be little icons of Marines moving down the stairwells, and then aliens jump out and we shoot them, and then maybe one guy gets eaten, we go down the next level, aliens jump out and we shoot them. So I also kind of was thinking about that too. What's like the objective and how to make it a fun sim. The battles in film could happen differently enough to work with your map requirements, just like an open battle in colony habitats. Oh, sorry, my bad. I should have read your second comment before just countering your first comment with my whinging about the maps. Yeah, you're true. The surface, you mean, colony habitats, that could totally be done. But the thing is though, I would say most casual viewers of Aliens aren't even familiar with like the surface of Hadley's Hope. The most iconic stuff is the subterranean, wherever they are, under the power plant with the cocoon, kill me, all that. That's the stuff most people recognize in terms of the terrain and geography from Aliens. Most of those look to be real bangers, no complaints from me. Fuck, all of them are good, it's hard to decide. Yeah, look, some of these boys are back pocket stuff. So Siege of Gondor is my that's my end game video. I am intentionally very much putting that off because, to be frank, once you do Siege of Gondor, there's nothing else. The Siege of Gondor is the ultimate of all these things I'm doing. And once I've done that, there's no up from there. So yeah, I'm putting it off for two reasons. One, that, very intentionally. Again, you might say that sucks. Boys, don't hate the player, hate the game. Again, I'm trying to be not just video man, but YouTube man here by trade. So I've got to save the sweet candy till down the track. Secondly to that, I also want to get better at what I'm doing. I want to make better animations. Every time I do one of these battle sims, I'm improving something a little bit just visually. My scripting, my writing stuff is improving on a technical level. Whether you notice or not, it's stuff that I keep like a little log. I have like a little AAR notepad, and every time I make a video, I write down like, what did you learn from this one? And then I make a little like dot point thing. So I want to get better at what I'm doing before I do Gondor. That's the other thing to that. I don't know why, but I really want to see the beach landing. Norwegians in Ragnarok from God of War. The game? Is there a battle? I said do Harry Potter next. It's kind of been teased before. You're right, I did tease it ages back. I did kind of honey dick everyone with Harry Potter. I think I put a community post out years ago now. A year ago. You got to be the commander, chest straps, red paint, and all. So okay, if we're talking Harry Potter, who's doing what? And again, noting that here's the other problem, boys. I'm meant to be doing an offensive one next. I just did a defensive one. I should be doing an offensive one next. Or I'll put another question to you guys now. Does it matter? Do I have to alternate between offensive and defensive? Like there's only one dude in the whole comment section saying, hey, you should do an offensive one. It's not like it's a super highly requested thing. You get what I mean? So I don't know. What do you boys think? Do I stick to being rigidly offensive defensive for the sake of variety? Or do I just do whatever is good next? You got to be Reddit green instead of Benghazi, maybe Rorke's Drift, or as in I'm defending Rorke's Drift with Uruguay against the Zulus. That's fucking crazy. The thing is though, that's kind of like it's low tech against low tech, so it's not quite as intriguing, I don't think, as say defend Benghazi with Uruguay against Kalashnikov armed Libyan rebels. I like the idea of, Shensha Robo says, I like the idea of real operation, fictional operator team, but trying to avoid recent or potentially distasteful operations may prove to be difficult and interesting at the same time. Yeah, I agree. Yellow Prush says, could be the... what's happening? The chat's scrolling. I didn't do anything. Sorry. Oh, the fall of Singapore with Ironfoot or some other medieval fantasy army. I don't know, castle litter with your medieval fantasy universe of choice. Uruk-hai and the Battle of the Bulge. I was going to say Jurassic Park, but I remembered the movie Primitive War already exists. Oh, yeah, I wanted to see that. I never saw it. For a Star Wars offensive one, the ground battle of Scarif would be good. Scarif. Oh, man, it would, but it kind of could actually work. The thing is, though, Scarif it's the thing I don't think they understate in the movie how many Imperials are on Scarif. Rogue One, right? Yes, Battle of Scarif is Rogue One. Like, there's so many defenders there that the offenders in the case of the film, the rebels, that they manage to even... to be fair, they all do get wiped out, right? Like, the ground battle is just... They know it's a Sui mission, and it's pretty much just a distraction, so Jyn Erso can go and get the plans from inside. So there's your first problem. For a Scarif offensive, and again, this is just cursory initial analysis. I'm just thinking about the movies, thinking about what I saw, thinking about what happened, what numbers they had, what numbers would we need if we're going to pull it off successfully and not just be a suicide mission as a distraction. There's so many Imperial defenders on Scarif. There's got to be at least a battalion there, again, just based on my memory of the scenes. So for us to attack this, and then again, what's our mission? Are we trying to wipe out the Imperials on Scarif? Are we trying to go in and capture the plans for the Death Star? And if so, that makes for a difficult video in terms of how to visually present it. If we're doing a video on, hey, how do we attack and wipe out the Imperial garrison on Scarif, that could be fun, because then all you'd need to show is like an exterior map, and I could have all the little islands and it'll be a water map. It'd be pretty sick, actually, visually. But then if we start talking like, oh, we have to go inside and steal the plans, and I have to do a whole indoor thing, and what's that? Like, I have little icons sneaking around in costumes. Crazy talk. So I think for Scarif, it'd just have to be a big offensive one. And at that point, it's, yeah, I don't know, man. Kind of breaking rule number one of the Venn diagram, which is I'm really departing from the battle as shown in the film. But that could be fun. I think that might be the way to do Scarif. I don't think I'll do Scarif next, but I think you've kind of reinvigorated my curiosity in Scarif, I'll put it that way. Sorry guys, I'm reading a comment and then I'm just running with it and then going on to the next one. 12 cavemen defending cave from 24 US SEAL red team. The real conflict is the book deals. Oh, here we go. Bloody SEAL slander. Awesome, Evan. For Hell's Gate, you could probably exclude the jungle from the map or for clarity, but not mention it in the script. Yeah, so the Hell's Gate, like why I shifted to Hell's Gate from the tree was because I thought it would be easier to map, which it would. So the trouble with Hell's Gate that I ran into, I started researching Avatar, like I started making that video. It turns out it's already been done in like one of the games. There's like a battle of Hell's Gate where the Na'vi attack Hell's Gate, shown in like cutscenes, and you take part of it in one of the games. So I was like, oh, fuck me, that's already been done. So, yeah, that was kind of why I switched away from that. I was disheartened from doing Avatar. It was one of the reasons why. Could the famous World War II ones like Normandy Kirk or major Cold War ones like Avatar blew people in Vietnam? I say stick to the rule of no real world battles. Look, it would keep it simpler in a way. Pirates of the Caribbean, but Somali pirates for British Grand Fleet. That's crazy work. Spark, late golf, but modern Ran has to fight it. I don't know that, I'll confess. How big of a force do you need to take down Smaug? Since you're looking for an offensive battle, Normandy beach landing from Edge of Tomorrow. True. It's what am I doing? Like it's near future force, right? They're not that far separated from a modern military. They have helicopter dropships, or they have helicopters which they rope out of. It's just they're in mechs. So I'd just be replacing the ships with, well, current Navy landing crafts and amphibious connectors and all that sort of stuff, and their VTOLs or whatever they are with helicopters. Hell nah, just do what you want. Yeah, man, but I haven't decided what I want to do next. You get what I mean? That's why you're here in the chat. Fucking give me a hand. Yeah, you're right though. Ultimately, I will just roll the dice and make a decision. But hey boys, this is your chance for input, and people are often asking or trying to make suggestions. So speak. We have the choice or the opportunity. I'd say kind of alternate, but don't stick to it like glue. Mix it up at least every 3 to 5 videos. Fair. I used to play a US Army calculation game named Cryptaris Mission, which upon having remembered this, I went looking to see if it still exists, which is no longer available on their website. I thought you were going to say America's Army, which was a sick game. That was one of the greatest shooters I used to ever play. I frothed it. Yellow Prussia. Most people aren't going to care about offense, defense, only the faction scenarios they think are interesting or cool. I think that's a very fair statement. I think that's probably correct. Yeah, you know what? I think you're right, man. And I was sort of thinking this aloud earlier. I do think the majority agree with you, do not care whether it's offensive or defensive. And there is a smaller amount of people who are saying like, hey man, do an offensive one. I think doing an offensive mixes it up because there is only so many different ways you can mount a defense with modern forces. That's another good point too. And that's something I'm already running into a problem with, is when I do a defensive one, I run through the steps of engagement area development using that free handout that hopefully some of you guys downloaded. I run through that, and yeah, there's only going to be so many different ways I can show. They charge at the machine guns, and then we open with the medium machine guns, and then the light machine guns, and then the Mark 19s open, or, the Mark 19s have been shooting at them from 2Ks out. So that's a good point too. I risk just doing the defensive ones just becoming the same thing over and over and over again. Nah, attacking Rorke's Drift with Uruk-hai. That's pretty sick. But didn't they, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not fully savvy on it, didn't they lose Rorke's Drift? Oh, sorry, didn't the Zulus win Rorke's Drift? As in the Brits were defeated? It's nice that YouTube flips your live stream right way around. Yeah, I get it. It's an Australia thing. The alternating battles is nice, but respectfully, given how sporadically you upload, I don't think it'll matter in the eyes of most viewers. Yeah, fair. No shade taken. Also very true. Oh, man, I keep scrolling past where I'm up to. I suggest the summoning Italy is like Gate, but good. Defend Hong Kong with modern British or Canadian unit the same size. Too big. Scale too big. I like the sound of Uruk-hai defending a World War II battle because they'll need to deal with a high-tech force and probably end up using a lot of sophisticated siegecraft to make up the tech gap. That could be one way I kind of overcome some of these problems, like what you guys were talking about before. If I do this crazy thing where I defend with the low-tech force, that's not making the modern defensive battle become stale. Try an offensive one next just to see the algorithm result 3 times a charm. Yeah, maybe. My favorite mission or training you could play in the game on the website was the ballistic trajectory calculation one. According to the law, it has garrison of approximately 475,000. Scarif? What? Scarif was 475,000 dudes. Oh, is that like the entire planet? I assume they have more than just that one. It's kind of, I don't know, the movie makes it almost out like they just have that one isolated base on the planet. But I would suppose that 475,000 Imperials, troops that is just the whole planet of Scarif, which seems nuts. As well as 2 Imperial I-class Star Destroyers. Is that I-class or 1 class? I-class Star Destroyers in orbit. Oh my god, sorry, I'm missing the scrolls. Harry, offensive idea. Harry Potter castle attack. The attackers of the modern force rip Harry. What about the seizure? See, I was thinking more a defensive one for Harry Potter, just because I think that would be fun. I'm picturing putting snipers in towers and machine guns aiming down the bridge, all this sort of stuff. What about the seizure of the Tantive 4 from Star Wars Episode 4, but it's maybe the SBS or some similar maritime special forces? That's a fun idea. I like the idea of, what would that be? Like VBSS, but intergalactic and done from Star Wars, in the Star Wars universe. There's always a final assault on the Wolf's Castle from Stronghold, bit obscure. That, yeah, man, I don't know what that is. Battle of Scipio, but the SAS has to extract Padme and Raph has to fight the droid fighters. Man, I'm sorry, I don't know what Scipio is. I'm decent with Star Wars, but Scipio? I don't know what planet's Scipio. Isn't that like an ancient dude who, what do you call it? It's the line from Gladiator. Scipio Africanus. Who was that dude? Would love to see some kind of HVT kill capture mission or explore media would work best for that. Let's do Endor, but what if we were the attackers? Troy Beach landing with a full MEU. I'm curious as to how you'd launch an attack on the jungle area saturated with guerrillas. Man, have I got a video for you. Battle of Scipio with an extract would be amazing. What's Scipio, boys? I don't know this one. How knowledgeable are you in air ops? Maybe some cool things to be done there. Not at all. Yellow Prussia. For an offensive, maybe Helios 1, the initial landing of the US invasion of Panama, maybe hunting down Napoleonic Renaissance era army like Napoleon chasing the Russians coalition was. Can liberate Theed Naboo with a mechanized unit. City combat, man. The map, just the visual gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like, because I've got to have the city map, and then I'm going to have like indoor shots as well. So the map work for that is going to be hectic. Do a video where the modern ADF attacks emus and find a way to argue an emu victory. Argue an emu victory? No, I've said at the start of the stream, I was going to do an April Fool's thing on the emu war, but it's too late now, so I'll probably do it next year. When will you do the Vietnam Freddy Fazbear episode? What? Is Freddy Fazbear, isn't that thing from stupid horror movie based on the stupid game where you sit in the security booth? Five Nights at Freddy's, yep. There you go, the answer was in the name. I do think the mix-up you did with how many guns it would take to save Zion was really cool and could be worth further exploring. Sure. Yeah, so that's what you're referring to there, brother. Sniperfy. That's tactically speaking. So I do a tactical analysis, I do a tactically speaking, and then the next tactical analysis is an opposite defending or offending. So I've already done a tactically speaking. I punched out that War Machine video in a week. I crunched that. That was the most efficient I've ever been. That was almost a challenge to myself as well. So I've just done a tactically speaking, so now I'm back to a tactical analysis. Rorke's Drift was successful against Azura. Were they successful at Rorke's Drift? I did not know that. Uruguay in late 1800s battle like Gettysburg or Charge. Helios 1 is really fun. What is Helios 1 again? Is that, what do you call it? I haven't played it. Is that it's the alien invasion space game. It's like not RPG. What is that game? Mass Effect? Is Helios 1 Mass Effect? Refresh my memory. Oh, storming the invisible hand to rescue Palpatine. It's from Clone Wars. What's from Clone Wars? Is that Scipio? Dude, you could do a bunch of battles from the Clone Wars, actually. Yeah, man. So, Clone Wars, bro. I'll give you one that's on my list off screen is Battle of Umbara. I think that would be sick. He was the guy that defeated Hannibal, if I remember. Yeah, that's where I thought of it from. during the Punic Wars between Rome, Carthage. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you. Scipio was a Clone Wars battle involving an invasion of a supposedly neutral banking planet. Republic invaded and droids defended with Padme stuck in the battle. I don't remember that episode. Scipio. I've seen all of Clone Wars. I don't remember Scipio though. Scipio, Roman consul, I think. Not Star Wars. Can't remember anything from Star Wars. Star Wars, but the 81st stormed the Jedi Temple. Star Wars. Man, I can't do Star Wars acronyms. I don't remember what this one is. My brain's not working too. I'm fried from this stream, boys. I'm wrapping it up here. Special Forces raids where there's no taking and holding ground could add variety. Yeah, man, I did that in Fallout and I did that in Predator. Oh, Helios 1, New Vegas. Sorry, boys. I did know that. The power station thing in New Vegas. What's the Mass Effect thing? Is there something that's similar? Is there something Helios Prime? Why am I getting that mixed up? I did know Helios 1 from New Vegas. It slipped my mind, sorry. Held by the New California Republic after they stormed it and forced the Brotherhood of Steel out. Immense cost of both sides. Umbara would be nuts, no problemo. Umbara would be an amazing video, super excited for that one. Would you ever do a live stream movie, watch along like Danger Close? How do you do that? How do you show a movie? Or do I just watch? What do you see though? Because I'm a faceless YouTuber streamer, right? So, like, you don't even get to see my face going, "Ooh, wow, eating popcorn and shit." I don't know how to do a watch along as a faceless streamer. Power station from Fallout, but yeah, sorry boys, I did know Helios 1. I don't know what I'm thinking of from Mass Effect though. Star Wars: The Old Republic, dude, you can do a bunch there too. Aliens, Colonial Marines versus Xenomorphs. Yeah, man, I mentioned it in this chat. It's difficult to map. Did you watch The Expanse? You know, boys, okay, so I'm caught up with chat. I'm thinking two things. I'm thinking, because you guys reminded me of it, I'm thinking Battle of Umbara from Clone Wars as an offensive. I'm typing this in chat as well. Or we're doing fusion low tech defender v modern attacker. I'm typing that in the emoji column instead of the chat column. Those are my two takeaways for this. I'm going to go away and ruminate on those, boys. But that's what I'm thinking. You reckon Umbara would be better? The cool thing about Umbara too, I think I could map it pretty easily. It's all just like a surface. It's just one, it's all above ground. There's not crazy amounts of jungle or anything like that. Actually, it would be pretty difficult to map now I think about it. It'd probably be all Photoshop. Man, okay, you boys are frothing Umbara. Umbara first, Yellow Prussian, Shifty McGoggles, Umbara, Spark, Umbara would be better. Umbara first. Is Umbara first line from the show? Is that why you guys are saying that? I don't remember that. Umbara would be a crazy hard can. Umbara, Andrew Noble. Hey, okay, I'm going to wrap this up soon, boys, but say I do Umbara, who? It would probably be attacking. I'd replace the clones in attacking the Umbarans, but who's attacking them? Oh, you know what? One of the other problems, isn't Umbara like, again, cursory analysis, this stuff that, we're thinking about as we start, if we're imagining planning our own operation here, isn't the Battle of Umbara, isn't the surface covered in like toxic gas or something? Are they all wearing breathing masks? The Umbarans, like the native Umbarans have like this, they live in like a respirator type mask, and the clones obviously have their self-enclosed protective helmet mask and all that. Is that not a thing, or am I misremembering that? Umbara might depend on the map. Have both the invasion and the air war for Umbara if not too difficult. Oh man, I forgot about the air war. Nah, no shot, I'm not doing that. That is too difficult to do air war. And if we're doing air war, what are we doing? Like what modern unit do I have that's doing galactic to surface maneuver? Maybe do the ADF for US. Yeah, the gas is toxic. Umbara is space Vietnam and it's perpetually nighttime, extremely dark. You can breathe the air or you can't. You can breathe the air. The Umbarans would probably be adapted to their home world. It's probably a vapor drug in the helmets. Word? I thought they're all wearing like respirators just to survive. Just within the atmosphere battles. It would be toxic to humans though. Okay, so yeah, you must see this is some of the problems, like when I think about some of these battles. And I agree with, at a glance, Umbara looks sick, but then immediately when you scratch away at the surface, you run into problems, right? Because now I'm thinking CBRN warfare, can we even do this? Like, is this a level of toxicity, this environment that we even have the capability to fight in, any nation or any element on the planet that is? And secondly, what concessions am I going to start hand waving away just to even make this work from the start? That's going to annoy like Star Wars fans. Use a VDV or some other airborne 101st. The Jedi don't wear respirators and the clones take their helmets off after the blue on blue. Did they take their helmets off after the blue on blue? I remember that's the big like pivotal moment in Umbara, hey, that they start shooting at each other. I'll have to go rewatch the episode, hey. Yeah, air should be breathable. Look, if the air of Umbara is breathable, I'm certainly more open to it. If we're talking this toxic waste thing, it could be way problematic. No CBRN requirement. The air is breathable at least for moderate times. Okay, good. Second Battle of Geonosis. Yeah, Geonosis is on the list as well. I'm not sure if it's on that list I had on the screen, but it is on my other secret list. Yeah, they take their helmets off and my boy Waxer dies. Oh, rip, man. That was like peak Clone Wars, hey. That, like Umbara, and that's when you get introduced to, and he immediately disappeared, Pong Krell, right? That's the corrupted Jedi Master. And he's what's that species? He's like Goro from Mortal Kombat with the 4 arms. Hey, there's breathable air on Scipio. Okay, I'm going to write Scipio as well because I don't remember Scipio. But honestly, that kind of worries me because everyone's heard of Umbara. Even, I'd say I'm a casual Clone Wars fan. Everyone's heard of, even casual Star Wars fans has heard of Geonosis. That I don't remember Scipio kind of concerns me a bit. It's season 6, I'm pretty sure. I'll go rewatch it, but yeah, it's not super duper pumping me up that it might be a bit too obscure. 4 arms and dual wields double-ended lightsabers for the aura. Bro, he was aura farming Pong Krell. I remember, like, even though he's clearly the villain and he is a scumbag, you still can't help watching him and being like, man, this dude kind of rules. Umbara would be really good for the Ukrainian force with their anti-air capabilities. It's an offensive thing though, right? Like we have to attack the Umbarans. If you're open to doing stuff from the book, OG War of the Worlds, and I'll stick a modern mechanized force in late 1800s England, having got down the tripod walkers. I think War of the Worlds is on my list, but I'll probably do Tom Cruise more modern War of the Worlds. Hey boys, sorry, I'm going to wrap it up here. We're at 3 hours. Thank you to anyone who's been there from the beginning. You're absolute legends. Thanks to all the boys who jumped in. This was super fun. I had like actual tears streaming down my face at times. Really good ideas. Just a good bunch of laughs. A lot to think about actually. But yeah, thanks for all you dudes who were here from the start. If you jumped in halfway through or whatever, thanks for jumping in as well. If you want to do more of these more regularly, you can sign up to the membership stuff. If you don't want to sign up for the membership, no worries. I'll do more free streams as well, more mixed bags, so don't feel like I'm trying to bloody twisting your arm into charitying me. But cheers, boys. Appreciate it heaps. To my members, my regulars, Ryan, Kuba. I'll see you boys probably in the next planning room one, whenever that's going to be. Saints. Who else we got? Zeno, of course. Cheers, boys, for jumping back in. I've got nothing else. Any final comments or questions, dudes, and I'm going to cut it. But if not, thanks to everyone for jumping on. It's been legit a good one, and I've enjoyed it. And thank you to everyone who fucking made me laugh, even if it was about weird animu stuff. It was cool as Modern Forces, V Clark, Chester Robbins. Great stream, great vids. Keep it up, bud. Thank you, Brian. 07 later, love the vids. Thanks for the stream. Thanks, Frederick from Denmark. 07. What's 07? Is this a streaming thing I don't know about? I'm scared to ask questions sometimes because I sound dumb. Is it something I should know? See you around, God bless. We would have held Thermopylae. We would have held Thermopylae. 07 salute. Oh, okay. I see it. That's it. All right, cheers, boys. Hey, I've got no closer. Thanks. Appreciate. God bless. Love yous all. Hopefully see some more of yous again in the next time I'm streaming. Peace out, dudes. It's been good.